who are here in person for tonight's meeting. We'll start with a roll call of the commissioners. Commissioner Blitman?
Present.
Commissioner Birch?
Here.
Commissioner Murphy?
Here.
Commissioner Rowley?
Here.
And we're going to excuse Commissioner Colson and Commissioner Scott tonight. And I'm Commissioner Rod Wickstrom. I'll be conducting the meeting. We'd like to start. Is there a motion like to be made on the agenda? Commissioner Rowley?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that on the current agenda that Section 3 unfinished business be moved to the back end of Section 4 new business.
And we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Birch seconded. All in favor indicate by yay. Yay? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And none, all is unanimous?
Yeah.
So how things will proceed tonight, we'll begin by having staff present the application, followed by questions to staff. After that, we'll have the applicant come forward, and they'll have 15 minutes to make their presentation. After that, and we'll have, if we have any questions for the applicant, they'll be made at that time. We'll then open the floor up to public comments. Following, and you'll have 3 minutes. You'll please come up and state your name and address, whether you're online or here in person. Following that, we'll have staff come back and we'll have any other questions for staff. At that point, the public testimony will be closed, and the commission will then make a motion to either approve, deny, or table the application. We'll start this evening with Project 2026-00081 CU MSP Boise Parks and Recreation, and we'll turn the time over to Mr. Danielson.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, project number 2026-00081 CU-MSB is a conditional use, a master site plan application to make improvements to an existing trailhead on Cartwright Road. The property is located in the Boise foothills near the intersection of Cartwright Road and Pierce Park Lane. The property is addressed as 8451 North Cartwright Road. It contains approximately 360 acres of BLM ground in the Rural Preservation District. On January 4th, 2007, the Ada County Planning and Zoning Commission approved the existing Cartwright Road trailhead through project number 2006-000197 CU-MSB. The current trailhead currently consists of gravel parking lot. The Boise Parks and Recreation Department seeks to improve the current trailhead by paving and expanding the parking lot, adding drainage swales, ADA-compliant parking stalls, installing a crosswalk on Cartwright Road, and adding a new vault-style toilet restroom building. Per subsection 8-3-7B2 of the Ada County Code, the applicant is requesting a waiver from the landscaping and screening requirements. Staff is supportive of the request for a waiver of the landscaping requirements because the property is not located within an irrigation district and does not have any water rights for irrigation. In addition, the trailhead is located in a natural open space area of the Boise foothills. The surrounding vegetation is sagebrush and other dry shrubs, grasses, and forbs. Also, there are slopes around the trailhead parking area that naturally create a visual barrier. There were no written comments received from the public. The Ada County Highway District did provide comments on this application earlier today. Their response is exhibit number 29, and I'll pass out the exhibits to you, so I'll do that really quick. You can just pass those out. In their response, ACHD replied with the following comments. The applicant should be required to widen pavement on the south side of the fog line on Cartwright Road to a minimum width of 5 feet to provide additional pavement width for cyclists and pedestrians, to provide a gravel shoulder. A drainage swale shall be designed and constructed to meet ACHD standards. There was a question if the storm drain pipe is anticipated to be an ACHD facility. The applicant's proposal for a marked crosswalk on Cartwright Road is not approved. They'll need to comply with all ACHD policies and standard conditions of approval, and they'll also need to obtain a permit for any work in the right-of-way prior to the construction, repair, or installation of any roadway improvements. None of the other agencies raised any objections to the proposed improvements. Staff finds that the application complies with A County Code and the Boise Comprehensive Plan is adopted by A County, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Danielson from the commission? Seeing none, we'd like to invite the applicant forward, and please state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Good evening, Chairman Wickstrom, Commissioners. My name is Trevor Kestner. I'm with Boise Parks and Recreation Department. My address is 750 Robbins Road in Boise, Idaho, 83702. I'm just here to say that we are in agreement with the CUP application. We did get the late coming staff report from ACHD about the crosswalk. So what we're going to do is just eliminate that from our proposal completely, and we will comply with the other conditions of approval as stated in the staff report. So if you have any questions for me, I'll stand for them.
Any questions from the commissioners? No? Seeing none, thank you very much, and if need be, we'll have you come back up for any rebuttals.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Back to any public comments. I have nobody online. Is there anybody who'd like to speak on this matter from the public? I have nobody listed here. With that, we'll turn time back over to Mr. Danielson. Any other further questions?
Mr. Chairman, before I forget, my presentation here will be exhibit number 30.
Commissioner Blitman?
Mr. Danielson, with the late ACHD letter and the applicant saying that they're going to just take the crosswalk off, do we have to do anything different, or can we just approve it the way that it's written?
Oh, you can approve it the way it's written, Commissioner Blitman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Danielson? With that, we'll close the, you can, there's no reason to rebuttal, but if you have any other information you'd like to provide, okay, very good. We'll close the public hearing then and open it up to the commissioners for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Blitman.
based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained therein and the testimony for the public hearing, I move that the commission approves project number 2026 00081 CUMSP, subject to the conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A in the master site plan dated January 6, 2026.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Rowley is a second. All in favor? Oh, actually,
It's okay.
you sure? Well, go ahead and,
I mean, it's
Before we
a good project. We're all going to want to walk in the foothills, and it's been planned for a while, so.
Commissioner Rowley, sorry, any comments?
Yeah,
you'd like
nothing
make
to
on
add. This is a no-brainer in my mind.
Very good. With that, and all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I say aye. Any opposed? Yeah, the vote's unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on. Item number 2026-00, let's try again, 2025-021-94S, Ackerman Estwold. Turn the time over to Ms. Haynes for her presentation.
Chairman and Commissioners, project number 2025-02194-S is a preliminary plat to create a 4-lot subdivision. The property is located at 5600 West Beacon Light Road and contains 19.991 acres in the rural urban transition district. The property is within Eagle's area of impact and is adjacent to Eagle city limits. Most of the surrounding property is rural residential or agricultural uses. The proposed subdivision, the Vigneto Estate subdivision, would be a 4-lot subdivision with each lot having at least 250 feet of frontage onto existing roadways and all lots having access off of the private road North Lanewood Lane. All lots but one will be a full 5 acres, with the northernmost lot being 4.991 acres. The allowance of this reduced acreage is due to the parcel being considered an aliquot parcel, which means that the parcel was originally meant to be 20 acres, but due to early surveying errors when mapping out section land, the parcel ended up being just slightly under 20 acres. Since the property was meant to allow for 4 lots, we are allowing them to subdivide into 4 lots, though they do not have the full 20 acres to make 4 5-acre lots. Apart from the lot size allowance due to government action, The proposed subdivision meets all required subdivision design standards. The application was transmitted to agencies concerned with the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare, as well as neighbors within 300 feet. Ada County Highway District is requiring right-of-way dedication and improvements to Beacon Light, including pavement widening and sidewalk, as well as prohibiting any further access onto Beacon Light. Central District Health is requiring a land development application, fee per lot, test holes, and full engineering report. Eagle Fire commented that City of Eagle water is available at Beacon Light in Lanewood and is requiring fire hydrants every 500 feet, and depending on the fire flow, fire sprinklers may be required. The county engineer commented with a request for more information on the irrigation and stated that new wells will most likely need to be at least 150 feet deep and should be tested for arsenic, uranium, and nitrates, along with typical well testing. He also stated that levels of arsenic and nitrates reported near the site are above drinking water standards, and individual wells will need treatment systems. Marathon Pipeline commented that they operate a petroleum pipeline that runs through this site and will require a representative on site for any work within 50 feet of the pipeline. All of these comments have been incorporated into the conditions of approval, and no comments from neighbors have been received at this time. Staff finds that the application complies with Ada County Code and recommends approval to the Commission. The Commission is encouraged to take into consideration any testimony presented tonight before making their recommendation to the Board. This presentation will be known as Exhibit Number 33, and I will stand for any questions.
Do you have any questions from commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Rowley?
A question regarding the Marathon oil pipeline. Is there an easement associated with that in addition to requirement to have someone on site during
Yes.
construction?
There is a 16.5-foot wide easement, and on the plat, you can see where it is, this line here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'd like the applicant to come forward and state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Good evening, Antonio Conti, Acarones, Vault 7655, West Riverside in Garden City. We actually have a video presentation, if you don't mind. Trying to do something a little bit different, more visual for you guys versus just paper. Thank you.
Meadow Ridge Estates will create 4 5-acre lots at the corner of Beacon Light Road and North Lanewood Lane, a private road. The existing 20-acre parcel is zoned RUT. Building off of the infrastructure laid by Heartland Ranch, the Veneto Ridge Estate lots will utilize North Lanewood Lane for access, creating 3 additional driveways for parcels 1 through 3. As parcel 4 contains an existing farmhouse, no additional driveway will be necessary here. The lots will participate in landscaping and road maintenance costs, but they will take advantage of their own pressurized irrigation system. The private road of North Lanewood Lane serves this parcel, 3 other large parcels, and the Heartland Ranch subdivision, which consists of several 5-acre lots, many of which are under construction now. North Lanewood Lane is already well landscaped and developed for substantial use. The private lane is maintained and governed by the surrounding parcels via a road maintenance agreement. All neighbors included in this agreement are in support of the Veneto Ridge Estate subdivision and are updating the document to ensure participation of all future lot owners. To address any concerns about our most constrained lot, Lot 3, which contains the Marathon Pipeline, we have overlaid an 8,000 square foot home with multiple outbuildings. Even with minimum setback distances of 50 feet between the home and the pipeline, you can see that a very large estate can be easily accommodated on the lot. New homes will add their own septic and well, and both electric and natural gas lines are already strung along North Lanewood Lane. Our vision is that this will be a fast, efficient way to both protect our neighbors' desires for large estate lots while providing opportunities for new families to partake in the rural lifestyle of Eagle, Idaho.
Thank you. Any other comments that you'd like to make?
Nope, just here to answer question at this point.
Any questions from the commissioners? See none? Thank you, and if
Thank you.
if need be, we'll have you come back up.
Perfect, thank you.
There are anybody in the public, I have no, the only person I had on the list was the applicant, so any other comments from the public? We'll turn the time back over to Ms. Haynes then, and any other comments you'd like to make?
The applicant's video will be entered into the record as Exhibit Number 34.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing that, we'll close the public testimony and look for a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Murphy.
Based upon the findings and fact and conclusions of law contained herein, I move the commission recommend approval of project number 2025-02194-S, subject to the conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A and the preliminary plat dated December 19th, 2025.
Motion has been made for approval. Is there a second?
I can second it.
Commissioner Blitman seconds it. Commissioner Murphy would like to comment on your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, real quick. North of Beacon Light, it's 5 acres are fairly typical or larger, so this looks like it fits nicely in that area, and look forward to seeing them start digging.
Commissioner Blitman, anything you'd like to add?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it's nice to preserve that area north of Beacon Light and the larger lots like that, so it's good to see that continue. At this time, all in favor of approval? Any other comments anybody would like to make? If, as such, then, everybody in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And I say aye. Any opposed? It's like the vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. Move on to item number 2025-02304, CU-MSP, Idaho Power Company.
Okay.
We'll turn the time over to Ms. Owens.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, my name is Michaela Owens, Community and Regional Planner with Ada County Development Services. I'm going to be presenting Project 2025-02304, CUMSP. It's an application that was submitted by Idaho Power Company for a conditional use permit and master site plan approval to construct and operate a new electrical distribution substation, which will be known as the Eisenman Substation. The approximately 8.3 acre site is located in southeast Ada County, southeast of the Boise Airport, north of Amex Lane, and west of Freight Street and Warehouse Way within Boise's area of impact. The property is split zoned, rural preservation and airport industrial districts, and the substation would occupy approximately 5 acres of the site. Access is provided to the site via an easement that comes from Amex Way to the south. Idaho Power acquired this property in 2025 to construct this distribution substation to connect with existing and planned energy infrastructure in this area. Construction is anticipated to begin in 2029 with completion in 2030, though the schedule could be accelerated depending on local development activity. The Eisenman substation is intended to connect an existing 138 kilovolt transmission line that's along the northern edge of the property with new distribution lines to serve current and projected electrical demand in the region. The facility will initially include one transformer with capacity for up to 3 transformers at full build-out, delivering up to 120 megawatts. This will support new commercial, industrial, and residential development in southeast Ada County and improve overall system reliability according to the applicant. To provide some site details, here's the proposed site plan, which includes electrical equipment focused in the northern and central portions of the site, as well as a parking area that's located more along the northern property line. There's also a CMU wall that's proposed surrounding the substation to provide screening as required by code. The applicant has requested a waiver to the landscaping requirements on the rural preservation portion of the site, which is allowed under Ada County Code. On the airport industrial portion of the site, no landscaping would be required because the property does not have street frontage, which is allowed for utility properties, and the setbacks are below the threshold that would trigger landscaping requirements. No formal parking is required. The only structures on the site house electrical equipment. However, a large northern graveled area is available for parking as needed, which you can see here. No lighting is proposed at this time, and any future lighting will require the submission of a lighting plan for review by staff to ensure compliance with Ada County Code. The project is located within the Wildland Urban Interface Overlay District and the Boise Air Terminal Influence Area Overlay District, which is a mouthful, and the project complies with all the relevant standards as conditioned. The project also meets the specific use standards for power facilities, substations under Ada County Code. Staff has reviewed the project and finds that the proposed substation is consistent with the industrial designation on the future land use map of the Boise Comprehensive Plan as adopted by Ada County. The use constitutes a passive industrial infrastructure facility and is compatible with the surrounding industrial and undeveloped properties. The project complies with the purpose statements of both of the districts that it's located in and does not impede normal development of surrounding properties and is also not expected to have any adverse impact on public health, safety, or welfare. Staff transmitted this application to relevant agencies and received the following comments. The Ada County Associate Engineer provided some conditions, including proper gravel surfacing, on-site drainage retention, restoration of disturbed areas, slope limitations, and compliance with noise standards during construction. The Boise Fire Department indicated that the IBC, IFC, and Ada County Code standards will all apply, but they'll be addressed at the building permit stage. The Ada County Highway District indicated that there would be standard conditions of approval as well as potentially an impact fee. Boise Airport had no objections to the project, but did require the execution of a navigation easement on the property. Ada County building official also had no objection, but is requiring building permits. The Idaho Department of Environmental Quality had standard comments regarding air quality, wastewater, drinking water, solid and hazardous waste, and groundwater compliance. And then Central District Health and Idaho Fish and Game had no objection. And at the time that I prepared the report, there were no public comments received regarding this application. Based on review, staff finds that the project does comply with Ada County Code, the Boise Comprehensive Plan as adopted, and all of the applicable zoning standards. Staff recommends that the commission approve this conditional use and master site plan for the proposed project with an expiration date of December 31st, 2029 to allow the applicant some additional time to get those permits and comply with their anticipated construction timeline. So my presentation will be added to the record as an exhibit, and I stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? No. We'd invite the applicant to come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Wickstrom and Commissioners. My name is Jeff Mafuccio with Idaho Power. Work address is 1221 West Idaho Street, Boise, Idaho. I appreciate Ms. Owens' presentation. It covered a lot of the information I plan to cover, so we'll make it a little quicker. Next slide, please. So just to give a broad overview, I was here about a year ago on another substation called Lake Hazel Substation, and it's a similar effort where we're trying to build out our infrastructure across south of Boise, southeast Ada County, as we expect and anticipate growth to occur. Mostly in this area will be commercial industrial with some residential potentially planned a little further south. Next slide. So as you can see, as part of our system, you know, if you're familiar with Idaho Power, we're from the water to your meter, or whatever the resource might be these days. But in this picture, this is a distribution station, so it's after the big transmission and before it hits your residence or business. So again, as I briefly stated, this project is intended to meet that future growth as we see a transition. It's complementary to the Lake Hazel substation that's a little further to the northwest. This Eisenman station is intended to meet some of that industrial growth that's coming off the Eisenman road as the Lake Hazel extension occurs from across, I guess it's like the third bench, or I don't know which numbered bench it is, but across this area. And this substation location was chosen by our Electrical Plan Advisory Council a few years ago. We go through an electrical planning process by regions that we serve. It's something, we're one of the few utilities that do that, so we can get some collaborative efforts on where we should consider our infrastructure. And I appreciate Ms. Owens' recommendation for an additional time. As you're aware, infrastructure it doesn't always go as planned as to when we actually build it. So we expect 2029, it could be sooner, and it could take longer, and we would need to come back for time extension or reapply. Next slide. Again, site location, next slide. I think Michaela covered this well, or Ms. Owens, apologize. We have access easements from Amex right now through some existing energy projects, and then along our transmission line along the north side of this station. We expect that we would have access to this site once Lake Hazel Road comes in. Next slide. Just a general kind of an image of one of these stations being constructed constructed. Our dead end is where the transmission line comes off of into the station. Those are about 50 foot tall. Then we have breakers, transformers, and that's what carries power through the station and out with distribution lines that are coming out underground. And then you can see our control building off to the right. And then again, this has 3 transformers, one for the immediate need, which is 40 megawatts, and then we can build it out as the need is required over time and through the decades. So it's an opportunity to kind of future-proof ourselves as much as we can. For growth in this area, it doesn't cover everything. Next slide. And then finally, just about the proposed screening is a precast concrete wall that we would prefer to do. They're about 8 foot tall. And then I guess Ms. Owens already covered pretty well, again, the kind of the split zone of this property and how we'd like that waiver from the landscape requirements on the left, I guess, quarter or third. That's it. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Go ahead. Commissioner Blitman?
You mentioned a waiver from the landscaping. That's already included in the staff report, correct? And so,
Yeah, I just want to make sure it was, I guess, reinforced.
okay, so you reviewed everything in the staff report and you're okay with
Yeah,
what's in the staff report?
Chair, Commissioner Blitman, Idaho Power is certainly okay with all the conditions that have been recommended in the staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I just had one. So right now, it's just gravel road access to get out to where your site is going to be. Do you have to wait for the road to come in, or are you just going to go in?
We can use the roads. The gravel roads are adequate for our large trucks and even a lowboy trailer to get through.
Okay, very good. No other questions? Well, thank you very much, and if need be, we'll have you come back for a rebuttal.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I have nobody online and no other public comments. With that, we'll turn back over to Ms. Owens. Any other things you'd like to add?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mr. Chair. So as I mentioned, I'll be adding my presentation as an exhibit, and I'll also add Idaho Power's presentation to the record.
Do we have any other questions for staff? That will close the public testimony and open it up to a motion. Commissioner Raleigh?
Yeah, Chairman, based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained herein and the testimony from this public hearing, I recommend that the commission approve project 2025-02304-CU-MSP, subject to the conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A and the master site plan dated December 31st, 2025, and Exhibit 9.
A motion is made for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Murphy, second. Commissioner Raleigh, would you like to comment on your motion?
Nothing significant other than it's nice to see, knowing that there's light industrial headed in this area that's already started. It's good to see Idaho Power ahead of the game.
Very much. Mr. Murphy, nothing? Okay. Yeah, it's nice out in the middle of nowhere for right now. With that, anybody, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and I say aye. Any opposed? The vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next application. Application 2025-02397-CU-MSP, Andrea Keller. And we'll turn the time over to Ms. Enselman. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. The application before you is for a winery and event center. The property is located at 8699 Chaparral Road. It is east of State Highway 16. The property contains 10.1 acres. The applicant is seeking approval for a winery and event center to have a tasting room and hold events such as music events and corporate tastings and pickup parties and of the such. This property actually came to us a few years ago for the same use, so it may look familiar. So they did receive approval at that time, but we have they missed their deadline for a time extension, so they're back. So you're gonna see a lot of similar things from what you saw last time. So on the screen, you'll see on the left-hand side is the site plan for the entire property. I've zoomed in, so you see the winery is called out, as well as the parking area, tasting room, and event facility. The applicant is proposing to phase the project. The first phase of the project, they are not proposing to add any additional structures. They are proposing to utilize an existing little over 1,700 square foot garage and shop, as well as a barn to start production, but they don't anticipate having anyone from the public in that first phase. They are hoping to move quickly into phase two, which phase two does include the beginning of construction for the first phase includes the tasting room, restrooms, office, lab in the first phase. And then each phase subsequent to that, they'll just keep adding on to that space. So the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see, this is kind of a screenshot of the floor plan of the eventual building that they will be holding tastings, events. There'll be outside space, of course, for some of their events as well. So they'll just phase it. They have up to 5 phases, but again, depending on how quickly they're able to move, it may be quicker, it may be a little bit slower. And then on your screen is a landscape and parking plan that was submitted, along with the phasing of the development of the structures. They also plan to phase their parking to coincide with the use as it grows. So the first phase, no additional parking. The applicant has stated that the first phase, it would just be the current owners that would be participating in the production. And then as they add employees and as they add the public, then they'll start adding those spaces. So the first phase, no additional parking. Second phase, a total of 18 parking spaces. 2 of those ADA. Phase 3, 17. 4, 28, and 5, 11. They'll have about 74 parking spaces that they're proposing with this use. So we did transmit this application to our, of course, our regular bevy of agencies, and we received no comments in opposition to this application from them. And we also received no comments in opposition from any neighbors adjacent to the property, and it was transmitted to everyone within, I believe, 1,000 feet of the site. I did want to highlight some key findings conditions of approval, apologize on my slide, and some key terms of approval. So some findings were, obviously they need to get building permits for any new structures over 200 square feet, and any that may require a change of occupancy. They'll need to submit a revised parking plan because the property is located in the WUI, so they will need to have 50-foot defensible space for habitable structures, and then a 5-foot clear space on either side of their drive aisles that they have. We did receive a letter from Idaho Fish and Game, who did recommend that they put some fencing. And in their letter, they did say that they would be happy to work with the applicant on appropriate type of fencing around the vineyard to basically preserve it from wildlife in the area to make sure they aren't getting some damages to their vineyards. So we did add that as a condition. We did ask that they revise their parking plan to just show wheel restraints on all the parking per Ada County Code, as well as a location of up to 8 bike spaces because the project is located in an area of impact, so we do require bike parking. And then as well, since they are in an area of impact, they will need to submit a revised landscape plan that is prepared by a licensed professional. Central District Health, they would need that approval for septic system as well as any food surfaces that they have on the site, both when they expand to the point where they have a kitchen, but if they have catering or even food trucks that may come to the site, they will need to get approval and permits from Central District Health. They did indicate in their application that at some point in their phasing, I believe their letter and everything indicated it was closer to like phase 4, they may drill for an additional well on the property. So they would be required to get approval from IDWR for any additional wells that they propose for the site. And then we did receive a letter from ACHD with regards to driveway approach. So they just would need to comply with anything from ACHD. And then the applicant did state in their detailed letter, their proposed hours of operation are Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 7. They're proposed to be closed on Sundays and Mondays except by appointment. So if they were having an event or something, they potentially would be open those days. And then special event hours would be 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. So they'd be done by 10. They do propose an outdoor public address system, so they would just need to comply with Ada County Code when it comes to our noise ordinance, so no crazy parties past midnight kind of thing. So based on the findings of fact, staff recommends approval of project 2025-2397-CU-MSP, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Rowley.
Yeah, just, excuse me, one question, Ms. Inselman. The parking areas, are those proposed to be paved, or is this a gravel lot?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rowley, so they, as conditioned, they will be required to propose a surface that will be reviewed by the county engineer. So they could do it as a gravel surface. The ADA parking spaces would not be allowed to be gravel, but it'd have to be an acceptable surface that is compacted.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just have a couple real quick ones. On the agenda section, it says that they plan on having up to 100 people. But then they're restricted in the conditions to only have a maximum of 50 people. How can we reconcile that there?
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. If their proposal was up to 100, I believe that they would be up to it. That may be just an error in the conditions, so we can correct that.
It's okay. We can also ask the applicant.
Yes,
It's
they
on-
can,
it's
they
on
can
the agenda.
clarify
Okay.
as well, but I believe the letter, I think you are correct. I believe the letter did say up to 100 maximum.
And is the fencing, it's a recommendation, not a requirement?
Mr. Chairman, currently, it is in the conditions as a requirement.
Okay, thank you. And last one, during their phasing, at what point would they need to upgrade the septic and, well, mainly the septic?
Mr. Chairman, it would be with Phase 2, whenever they build the first structure with this. The other ones, it will just be converting the existing structures for manufacturing. And if there is a requirement by Central District for that change of occupancy in those as well, they'd have to get it with the first.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions for staff? Thank you very much. We'll ask the applicant to come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Good evening, Commissioner Wickstrom, and to all the commissioners, or chairman, I should say. A little nervous, second time around. So it's a pleasure to be here to present our project. Again, this is our second time applying. Got a little bit of a slow start the first time, and a few things have changed. And so compared to our first plan, we've actually downsized the project a little bit. And mainly just looking forward to being a part of the Eagle Foothills viticultural area for making wine. It's become very well known in this state as a quality producer. It's a good site location for grapes. It seems to be in a place that nobody objects to, which is a large battle. And so we're glad to be out here and living in the country, and we're just looking forward to growing some grapes and making some good wine. There were some questions that were asked here. I'd like to address some of those because thank you very much. You did describe things very well.
So before you go on, I'm sorry, did you give your name and address?
Oh, I'm so excited I forgot that. It's
I didn't
860.
catch it either. They've reminded me.
It's Brett Keller, 8600 Chaparral Road, Eagle, Idaho.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So in reference to the deer fence around the vineyard, that's kind of a given in our industry. We also have a couple of large dogs who will help keep them away, but we'd hate to invest tens of thousands of dollars without protecting the vines we're planting. So that will definitely be planned. It would be a fence that would cover around the vineyard itself, not the whole 10 acres. But we'd expand that fencing up to including any expansion of the vineyard we would have. And then the reason that we've applied for up to 100 guests is that in association to this, we've also applied for a conditional use permit for an event center, whereas as a winery, you can have 24 events of up to 50 persons. The event center does not limit you other than your facility with wastewater, the toilets, the parking, the things like that, or at least that's my impression. So the only reason that we're really wanting to have more than 50 people at an event is that Tuesday night is supposed to be a well, bocce club night is supposed to be a tournament, and it's going to be more than 50 people. So we're going to have some of those events. We're not really planning on doing a lot of weddings. It might be a couple a year. As an event center, it's more for our events, which are food and wine oriented. They're there to, kind of give the winery and the grape experience to our customers and to the region, and just another outlet for people to enjoy the hills above Eagle. I think, as regards to the phasing plan, we've initiated the phasing plan to start small so that we can actually get open and grow. We've already made 3 vintages of wine at a neighboring winery. So the reason we did the phase plan is that first building we like to use is for the bottling of the wine that's already been produced. The key there is that, one is to get it out of storage, finish the wines. It's not going to take, it's negligible as far as how much wastewater it will take. It's really just bottling. It's not crushing, fermenting. It's not washing barrels. It's just a way to get started and then have a place to store this wine until we open phase 2. And then at that point, we'd also have our licensing lined up with the Idaho State Police. We would have all of our alcoholic-related permits squared away and ready to go. So that's been the goal with the phase plan, and then also to kind of grow responsibly. Things are a little uncertain right now, so starting small and kind of growing as the market grows and maybe things change in this world, maybe just about what we got to do.
Great. Thank you very much. Any question for the applicant? Commissioner Rowley?
Have you already started growing grapes on the property?
We have not. We would like to start with the winery first because, well, the winery and the wine sales will fund the vineyard. So we'll be putting the vineyard in sometime during phase 2. But we've always believed that getting the winery first and foremost was going to be our goal. And the vineyard is, we've got a good spot for it. And we'll be starting that. It's also in phases. It'll go pretty much an acre at a time. But it's a small vineyard. I think there's only 2.5 or 3 acres planned.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Birch?
I noticed there was notification of a public meeting, a neighborhood meeting. Did anybody come to that?
No.
And
We've had 4 of these in the last 3 years. And the first time we had a nice turnout. But they're all our neighbors. We've got relationships with them. They know what we're doing. And so every time we put this out with the letters, we also follow up with phone calls and emails. Say, are you coming to the meeting? He says, no, we're not going to come over. We know what you're doing and stuff. So we've always had a lot of support from our neighbors. We've only got 6 or 7 within our 1,000 feet. And it turns out many of them like wine and they like the idea. We did have comments from one over the phone that was worried about having a lot of weddings and events and things like that. And I told him what we were up to, and mainly it's just to make the wines. And I mean, we're in the business of selling wine, not doing weddings. It's just not in our wheelhouse. So he was concerned about that. We had a question once about, how much water we're going to use, but we're pretty good with making wine. We owned a winery in another place for about 15 years, and we don't use a lot of water with our winemaking. We're really conscious of that, especially when we have to have a waste system that's designed and engineered for that volume. So we've addressed as much as possible with our neighbors. Most of it's been one-on-one, but we've actually at some of those other meetings, we'd have 1 or 2 people coming around, and usually would end up being a discussion over, what their questions were and things like that. So wish we can get some people over there more often, but it seems like it's hard to round them up.
Commissioner Birch, did you want to follow up?
so usually what gets people's hair on fire with the event centers is that they have the large venues where they have the weddings and the alcohol is served and there's music being played. And I think it mentions in here that there would be outdoor music, correct? And so I guess the question is, because there's no assurance that you will be here in the future and somebody else may come in and take advantage of the conditions that you have received to operate the event center, would you be willing, as a condition of approval, to limit the event center to not include weddings and social gatherings other than in connection with your wine tasting and wine business?
That'd be fine. I'm not really interested in doing weddings at all, like I said. You know, I like the flexibility down the road, but I mean, if it came down to, you know, being approved or not approved, it's no hair off my chin, really. It's just, you know, I've done weddings, and frankly, I don't like doing them. So I'm just, you know, like I said, we're in the business doing wine, so the events we'd be talking about are, you know, the bocce things, the pickup parties where members would come and they'd come to an event where we'd have some hors d'oeuvres, we'd have some special tastings, we would do things that would be that cultural wine experience. And those are the events we're really more concerned with. And as far as doing corporate events and things like that, a lot of those would be tastings in the cellar, it would be barrel tastings, it would be blending, it would be, you know, educational walks through the vineyard, it would be picking parties, it would be a variety of different things that we do to kind of bring people into our wine and hospitality culture.
Thank you.
Commissioner Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Keller, just curious, this 10-acre parcel that we're looking at right here, is that your main property? Is that your only property in the area, or do you have other acreage surrounding that or nearby?
Actually, that is our only property. It's 10.1 acres. There is a 1.04 acre part of it that's been separated from our home site. Apparently, that's because the property is just, it's old. It was done a long time ago.
Okay,
So-
but there's no
that's all.
greater piece of land that you're going to put grapes on or grow into with events, et cetera. That's the parcel in red, outlined in red there, right?
That's all we got. And I
Okay.
should mention that I think the address that I heard earlier is incorrect. It's 8600 Chaparral, not 8699. I'm not sure how that may have happened, or
Thank
maybe
you.
I heard things wrong, so.
Any other questions for the applicant? With that, thank you very much, and if we need to, we'll have you come up and add more information. I'll turn the time back over to Ms. Inselman. Anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, no. The only thing I would add is the presentation would be exhibit number 22 for the record.
Do you have any other questions for staff? Commissioner Birch?
So if we were to limit the event center activities, now there's two questions. First of all, can we limit the event center activities? And if we do limit the event center activities and the applicant decides in the future that, you know, I think I would like to have weddings and whatnot, there wouldn't be any prohibition in the applicant coming back and saying, my neighbors are fine with it, and I want to go ahead and amend this to include the ability to have weddings and whatnot. So it wouldn't handcuff them indefinitely. It would just be, they would have to go through an amending process. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I'm actually going to ask Richard to maybe help with that question, because I do know that we separated out a winery from an event center in our code, and they did specifically ask for approval of an event center, and that is one of the usage that is allowed with that use with an event center. But whether we can restrict it, I would assume so, but I'll let Richard jump in.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Birch, I would say that, you know, through the conditional use process, you could establish, you know, restrictions like that. Typically, it would be in response to some kind of impact or, you know, some way helping you make the required findings, but that is an option to add that kind of restriction in the conditions.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? Commissioner Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a conditional use. What's the, Mr. Beck, what's the, or maybe Ms. Inselman can help, what's the span of years on this when it would have to come back? Like, would it, as a conditional use permit?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Murphy, it would not need to come back.
It would not need to come back.
This is not one that has a time frame tied or an expiration tied to it.
Okay. Could we work it the other way, though, opposite of what Commissioner Birch is, and instead of making the applicant come back to ask for it, allow it as per what the event center allows, and then put a conditional use on just the wedding portion of it, if that's what Mr. Birch is concerned with. And then if there are issues with the neighbors, then that bit can be revoked. So it's not him coming back and going through the process. If there's some sort of negative, situation with the neighbors, then they could kind of help trigger that after a couple of years. Is that an option, or is that not? Am I thinking the wrong way? That way it's like, you're imposing not having a certain thing. His neighbors are fine with it, supposedly, but you're imposing this, stipulation on him, and then making him come back if he wants it. But I think it should be the other way, where he gets it as part of the event center, and then if there's an issue, then that part gets pulled for whatever reason.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Murphy, I guess it does get difficult to kind of pull an entitlement, down the road. We do have, sometimes we've seen conditional uses where the commission will impose kind of a review, but it doesn't necessarily affect the actual approval. It's just a review. But I guess the recommendation, again, is they've put forth a proposal. If there's specific impacts that you've heard that you want to address, that would be kind of the time to step up and add restrictions or conditions to address the findings. But
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering.
Any other questions? I just had one quick one. So is there a time limit on the phasing? There was some problems before, just as far as their timing.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so the applicant in their letter did indicate that within, because the conditional use, you have 2 years in which to implement that, but then it did sound as though by his letter that he does anticipate getting several of those phases done within the first 2 years of the approval, and then he could utilize time extensions to finalize the remaining.
Thank you. And one last question on that. So with the proposed possibility of 100 guests, will that will fit under the event center zoning?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. And everything that he has shown with regards to parking and everything would be adequate for that number, and as well as based on the square footage that he's showing for the use.
Great, thank you very much. I have nobody online. Is there anybody here present that would like to speak on this matter? Is there anything else, Mr. Keller, you'd like to come, anything else you'd like to say, present? Okay. All right, thank you. With that, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to a motion from the commissioners. Commissioner Birch?
Based upon the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained herein, the testimony from this public hearing, this commission approves project number 202-502-397-CU-MSP, subject to the conditions of approval attached to Exhibit A and the master site plan stamped on December 19th, 2025, with the additional condition that the event center shall not be used as a wedding venue or any other use that is not substantially related to the winery business of the applicant.
We have a motion for approval with condition. Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Commissioner Blitman seconds it.
Mr. Chairman, do we
Yes.
want to, there was a discussion about my findings have only up to 50. Was there going to include an amendment to increase that to the 100?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
My
last-
conditions of approval, it limits to 50, and that was an error on my part. So
Okay.
is there an addition to that that motion to increase that to 100 as proposed by the applicant?
Okay, so is that something we should address here? Is that something you're going to just?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Commissioner Birch would like to include that there's an error that they will be able to have up to 100 people.
100. Is it 100?
100, yeah. Up to 100. So the condition originally, the condition was to only have, the condition originally was to be a maximum of 50 people per event. And that's an error in the conditions. So we need to remove that condition.
Or just revise it to state it.
Revise, okay.
Yes, I will add that. I will add as a condition to the motion that I made that the number of persons being able to be in attendance shall not be 50 as stated in the documents, but shall be 100.
And
Thank you,
Commissioner
sir.
Blitman, are you,
I would second that.
okay. Commissioner Blitman, or Commissioner Birch, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I mean, I think that the applicant is right on. I'm familiar with where this property is, and the concern that I would have is that the neighbors are fully in support of it as it has been presented, and the applicant has not presented it as something that would be a wedding venue, as the event center, and so the neighbors would not be expecting that. And so the purpose of my addition to it was to make sure that the neighbors do know what is coming. And as far as what is being proposed, I think it's an excellent use. It's consistent with what we've already seen on Highway 16, and so it's compatible with what's already happening there.
Thank you. Commissioner Blitman, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes, I agree with Commissioner Birch's motion, and I think that by setting the wedding venue apart, that if sometime down the road there was a change in ownership, it wouldn't be automatically assumed that the new owner could have as many weddings as they wanted to. So I think this is really a good way to mitigate some of the other concerns that we've had over the years and other venues.
Thank you. Any other comments, the commissioners? So it seems like that would be a good way just to keep it in the spirit of being a winery and promoting the wine culture, the wine business, rather than opening it up to just an event center, if it should trade hands further down the road. So with that, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. And we have, our next item is application 2025-02508-ZC-MSP-DA, South Beck and Baird. And that has been, there's a recommendation to table this to the April 9th, 2026 meeting. And do I have a motion to table this application? Commissioner Blitman.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table application number 2025-02508 ZC MSPDA South Beck and Baird to April 9th, 2026.
And we have a motion to table this item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Raleigh, seconded. Don't need to speak on your motion, but all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I say aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now turn to item number, and excuse me for how long this is, item number 2025-02138-ZC-PDU-S-PR-MSP-MSP-B and 2021-20-1115-DA-DM Breckham Land Design. And we'll turn the time over to Mr. Danielson.
Dear Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this project is an application to modify the Rares Run subdivision. The property is located in southwest Boise, near the intersection of Lake Hazel Road and South Maple Grove Road. The property consists of 17.63 acres in the medium-density residential R6 district and the community commercial C2 district, and is located at the northwest corner of Lake Hazel Road and Maple Grove Road. The subject property is a part of the Rares Run development. The Rares Run development was initially approved back in 2003. The subdivision later expired during the Great Recession. A new application was submitted and later approved in 2013 to finish the Rares Run development. The development has been approved for single-family homes and a commercial area abutting West Lake Hazel Road and South Maple Grove Road. The applicant desires to modify the existing preliminary plat for the remaining phases of Renters Run with a new preliminary plat. The project will consist of both single-family residential uses and commercial uses. The single-family residential product type will be townhomes. The applicant has proposed to rezone approximately 8.43 acres as currently zoned R6 and C2 to the high-density residential R12 district. As shown on the slide, only a small strip of the property that is zoned C2 is proposed to be rezoned to R12. Most of the commercially zoned land will remain commercially zoned. The property is located in Boise's area of city impact, therefore the applicable comprehensive plan is the Boise Comprehensive Plan as adopted by Ada County. The future land use map designates the site as mixed use, which is intended to include a variety of commercial, office, and high-density residential development. The future land use map also identifies the property as being within a neighborhood activity center, which are characterized by small-scale retail and service uses that may include mixed-use or attached housing opportunities, as well as by a compact scale and pedestrian-friendly design that encourages pedestrian access from adjacent neighborhoods. As such, the proposed mix of commercial and townhomes and the proposed rezone to the R12 district, which allows for densities up to 12 units per acre, is compatible with the adopted comprehensive plan. In addition, there are existing higher density projects nearby that include apartments and condominiums. So as shown on the map here, we have a few properties that are already zoned R20. So right across the street, south of Lake Hazel, we have an apartment complex here. We have some condominiums and townhomes kind of further south of this apartment complex. I think it's called the Easton. We have some condominiums to the west. And then we also have at the corner here a entitlement for a small apartment complex there as well. The applicant is requesting a preliminary plat for 54 residential lots, 24 commercial lots, and 12 common lots. The residential lots are located towards the northern portion of the property adjacent to existing residential properties, and the commercial lots are located along West Lake Hazel Road and the South Maple Grove Road frontages of the property. The applicant is seeking for this project to be a planned unit development. Ada County Code states that the purpose of a PUD, a planned unit development, is to allow flexibility in site design and dimensional standards to develop residential, commercial, and/or industrial uses not allowed individually within specific zoning districts, allowing for innovation in site design. With the PUD proposal, the applicant is proposing for the R12 lots to have a minimum roadway frontage of 34 feet instead of 45 feet, and for a minimum property size of 2,975 square feet instead of 3,500 square feet. The PUD will also allow for some of the residential lots to take access from a shared driveway. The northern portion of the site will consist of attached single-family residential townhomes and will provide a transition from the existing detached single-family dwellings north of the site to the proposed commercial lots along Lake Hazel and Maple Grove Roads. It should be noted that there are other nearby planned unit developments which have been approved and have received special provisions, such as Hazelwood Village and the Charlesworth subdivisions, which are approximately a mile away near the intersection of Lake Hazel and 5 Mile Roads. A master site plan for a veterinary clinic has also been submitted with this project. The building shell is about 8,432 square feet, with approximately 4,432 square feet of the total building interior area being built out. You can kind of see here on the screen where you can kind of see like a floor plan here that shows that basically about half of the building shell would be for the veterinary clinic itself. The veterinary clinic will offer typical veterinary services including neuter and spay operations, regular checkups, and emergency services for household pets. This project has received several comments from neighbors and the public. Most of the comments have been in opposition to the project. The primary opposition to the project is the rezone to the R12 district and developing single-family attached dwellings, townhomes. Residents within the Renaissance development have stated that recreational amenities within the development, such as the swimming pool, are already at capacity during peak seasons, and adding more households will overwhelm the existing development's amenities. They also feel that new townhomes will lower their property values and are not in character with their neighborhood. Several individuals also commented that Southwest Boise is lacking commercial businesses, and they believe all the land in Winters Run that is zoned commercial should remain zoned commercial. Some people also believe that the townhomes will lead to an increase in crime. There are also concerns regarding additional traffic that will be generated by the development. Several agencies have provided comments on this application. Key agency comments include the following. The A County Sheriff's Office mentioned that the development will likely increase traffic and the development could result in an increase in call volume. They state that both of these concerns could be mitigated with staffing increases and roadway planning and expansion. The Boise Public Works Department responded that provided the original preliminary plat remains active, access to Boise City sanitary sewer facilities will be permitted. The Boise Fire Department, on behalf of the Whitney Fire District, replied that they can approve the application subject to compliance with code requirements. The A County Building Division has no objection. The A County Highway District stated that the development is estimated to generate 5,256 vehicle trips per day with 306 vehicle trips per hour in the PM peak hour. Also, area roads will meet ACHD's level of service planning thresholds in the future with planned improvements. In addition, they provide several site-specific conditions of approval. A few of these conditions will require some modifications to the proposed preliminary plat. For instance, Moonlit Snow Avenue is not approved to intersect Lake Hazel Road. The knuckle on the alley and the 6 perpendicular parking stalls off the alley are not approved. Blizzard Avenue will need to be constructed to intersect Tundra Street in the area identified as Lot 13. As conditioned, the applicant will need to revise the plat to address A County Highway District's requirements. Other key conditions of approval include the fire department approving all fire flow requirements in the development and also the private road turnaround. Staff finds as conditioned that the application complies with the A County Code and the Boise Comprehensive Plan as adopted by A County and recommends approval to the commission, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Danielson?
I've got a couple.
Commissioner Blitman.
Could you take your presentation back? Thank you very much to the very first one that shows that shows where the commercial and the back one were, I think. This is what it is originally right now.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blitman, that is correct. This is the current zoning map for the property.
So how many houses would be on the R6 if the zoning doesn't change?
So Commissioner Wickstrom, Commissioner Blitman, so typically with the R6 district, you're looking at about 6 dwelling units to an acre. So that's typically what the 6 would be, about 6 dwelling units to an acre would be roughly, with including the roadways, et cetera, that'd be about what you would see in the R6 district.
So do we know how many acres is in the R6 district versus the C2 district?
8.4.
So Madam Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blitman, so the entire property consists of 17.63 acres. So both the R6 and the C2 consist of about 17.63. The applicant, let me look at my notes here, is requesting to rezone the property for the rezone portion of the R12 that they're proposing is 8.41. So obviously with the rezoned R12, if we go to the other slide here, so what this hatch would be 8.41 acres. So this would be probably roughly, I would say probably around maybe like 6.5 acres would be probably what the current R6 zone is currently.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Birch.
Mr. Danielson, I cannot find it right now, but within the materials that we have, there was a resident who submitted questions to you, and you responded to them. And I think that they were primarily concerned, probably as most of the members of the public here are, with the townhomes. And one of the questions that was asked is, would the townhomes be able to be multi-story? And I believe you responded the answer would be yes. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Birch, that would be correct. So so with the R12 district, obviously with our zoning districts, we have a maximum height. So I think in the R12 district, I believe the maximum height is 40 feet. So, and maybe the applicant can kind of further address this in their presentation. But, with a 40-foot high structure, you theoretically could have a two-story townhome. So it is, based on the allowed height in the R12 district, it is feasible, for a townhome to be 2 stories, but the applicant can maybe address whether, if they have a design in mind that would be 1 story, or if they would have a design that's going to be 2 stories.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I had one, Mr. Danielson. What would be the parking requirements for under the R12?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Wickstrom, for the R12 district, because these are single-family residences, they just require, basically the standard, 1 parking space per dwelling unit. So these homes, I believe, are going to be probably have a 2-car garage, so the parking spaces would likely be 2 cars per lot for the townhomes.
Okay, and there's no way, I guess, well, this may be a question for the applicant, but those parking spaces that have been taken out, I was wondering if that was going to be part of if they were possibly including that in, or maybe using that for guest parking. Is there any indication?
Mr. Chairman, I believe, the additional parking spaces that they had, would be more for guest parking. So it'd be kind of when somebody has somebody over, for a, if you have your friend over, that'd be a place, for that guest of yours to park.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Blitman?
Another question. When I look at this, can you identify any of the, parks or play areas that,
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blitman, so this is within the broader Winners Run development. So there is a park within the Winners Run development that's just right here off of Snowy River and Sagebrush Drive. So this is kind of the main common area for the development. And then this is kind of where the development's kind of swimming pool is located here on Banjo and Snowy River Way.
just to clarify, this winter's run is incorporated into the bigger subdivision?
Yes. So I'll kind of zoom out here. So basically, Runners Run subdivision is basically the boundary is, kind of we have the corner here, it goes up here, and then goes over here to this line here, and then up like this. So this is basically the boundary of the Winters Run development.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Murphy, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's actually staff. I apologize. Would it be acceptable if I cover a housekeeping item real quick before we move forward?
Sure.
I was made aware that potentially the parking lots, if you were not able to select the public hearing this evening and not able to pre-validate your parking ticket, we do have a station in the back that you can pre-validate before you leave. So if you weren't able to select public hearing when you hit the button, be sure to validate your ticket before you leave. So appreciate that patience.
Thank you. Any other questions? I had one. So it's mentioned that, I had a question, I had just one more. It's mentioned on the lot size, instead of 3,500 square feet, they're going to be 2,975. The 3,500 square feet, is that typical for the C12, or is it?
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
sorry,
that is the typical minimum lot size for the R12 district. So the 8 counties zoning ordinance has a provision in our code that allows for what's called a planning unit development, which is a part of this project. And so the planning unit development allows for deviation from dimensional standards in order to have a more innovative product type. So like with over here in Hazelwood Village, you can see we have like lots here, and basically these lots are basically not having frontage onto an actual roadway because they take basically frontage off of this little kind of common area or mu. So this allows for developments to, kind of deviate, as long as they're having an innovative product type, it allows for them to deviate from the standard dimensional standards. And so obviously with the PUD, they need to identify what that deviation is. And so the applicant has asked for a deviation, from that minimum lot size for the R12 district.
Is the 2975, is that something that the applicant has come up with, or is that something that's the next step down that's,
Mr. Chairman, that was something that the applicant had come up with and had proposed in their application.
okay, thank you. Any other questions? With that, we'll have the applicant come forward. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Heath Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise, representing the applicant. And I'm going to handle the kind of why part of the application, and then Mr. Brecken's going to jump up here when I'm done, and he'll handle the how. So we're here to look at what appears to be, we can go to the next slide, Brent, a pretty long list of applications. Mr. Chair, I think you were right in being intimidated by reading the number of numbers and acronyms on this one. You know, there's this list that we have on the screen, but ultimately what I want to emphasize, and I think it's important to keep in mind, is that we're talking about an existing project with existing entitlements that we're trying to get across the finish line in these last couple of phases. So the next slide. So this project does go all the way back to 2003. The current DA dates back to 2013. Brent described all of that background for you. It's moved forward slowly but steadily, and we're now addressing the final phases. And for the past few years, we've been actively working across the various jurisdictions to come up with the design iteration that you'll see here tonight. And that includes working with not just Ada County and ACHD, but very closely with Boise City. And I'll explain a little bit more why that component of this is important. This next slide. Brent described the location, Lake Hazel and Maple Grove, varying densities of homes and apartments in the immediate area, as Brent mentioned. And you also have the Lake Hazel and Maple Grove roundabout that's been installed on our eastern side as well that plays a big part in all of this. So let's go to the next one. Commissioner Blitman, this might help you with your question about where all of this comes from and how it interrelates with the existing Winters Run subdivision. The remaining phases are labeled 7 and 8 on this drawing. All of the earlier residential phases are constructed and occupied at this point. And this area has seen a lot of change in the last 20 years, and that change has led directly to some of the design constraints that we are working around with this application. Next slide. So as you can see here, this is the existing preliminary plat. The installation of the Maple Grove roundabout required shifting the planned mid-mile collector that you can see here at the base to the west. So because of the proximity of that to the Maple Grove roundabout, we're no longer going to get a full access in that location. And in fact, the current ACHD report says no access in that location. So what does that mean? That means there's a mid-mile collector that needs to be built, and it's no longer going to have the alignment that is in the current preliminary plat. Instead, it has to be shifted all the way to the west, to our western boundary, to align with the new mid-mile collector alignment that's on the south. So what does that mean? That means that it's going to go through what was previously the residential area. That's where I've kind of shown you with the blue arrow there. So in order to make your way down and sweep down and then go directly south, you're going to have to bisect what was previously the residential lots. In addition, there's a local street stub that you can see with the green arrow that also needs to connect into that collector. So that means that the entirety of that residential area has been impacted by these roadway realignments, and that residential area needs to be redesigned. So that's a lot of the reason why we're here. And as you can see, now we have all these roads and road alignments. That also prompts the need to slightly increase the size of the residential area to be able to accommodate all of that. So the next slide. So as we dealt with these design restraints, we had to deal with multiple agencies, and we are in Boise's area of impact. That means that Boise's comprehensive plan applies. And Brent mentioned that, but I also want to emphasize what that means. Boise's Blueprint Boise calls this out as a neighborhood activity center. So if you look at Blueprint Boise on a neighborhood activity center, they call for residential density between 8 and 16 dwelling units per acre in the neighborhood activity centers. So a big part of our conversation with Boise as we were trying to arrive at an acceptable design is that we needed to satisfy Blueprint Boise, not just because of the area of impact, but also because that's a requirement of their sewer policy. So what you have in front of you is significantly less density than, in fact, what the neighborhood activity center policy in Blueprint Boise would require. It, again, 8 to 16 dwelling units per acre is what Blueprint Boise would call for. So what we're trying to do with all of this is, if you can picture a Venn diagram of 3 circles, we've got Ada County's requirements, we've got ACHD's requirements, and we've got Boise's requirements. And we need to fit somewhere in the middle of all 3 of those circles. And so that's where this density comes from, and that's where a lot of these design decisions came from. So next one. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to John and let him talk about, given those constraints, how we went about redesigning all this.
Hi, please give us your name and address.
John Brecken, Brecken Land Design, 6661 North Glenwood Street. Okay, so this slide shows the old preliminary plat and the zoning, as well as number of residential lots and the acreages associated with that. Next slide, please. This was our most recent proposed plan, which was submitted. And up until last week we received comments from ACHD based on the traffic impact study that was conducted. And so I have a new plan to present to you. So this is the one that Brent was referencing, that had the 54 lots and so forth. And what you'll find is changes we've made are some of the challenges that we've been faced with over the last 3 years as we've been working with these different agencies. The city tells us certain requirements, and then we get different requirements from Ada County Highway District, and then we also trying to meet the county's requirements. Anyway, next slide, please. This is an updated plan that we just put together this last week that addresses the comments made by ACHD in their latest staff report. And it identifies some deceleration lanes on Maple Grove. That's item number 3. They also, as you travel down through the roundabout and along Lake Hazel, item number 1 identifies they do not want that right in, right out. However, we'd like to work with ACHD to modify that or allow for right in, right out into that commercial zone. Item number 2 is requiring a right-hand turn lane into that Cold Snap Avenue, which is the collector alignment. And that is, that'll be the main full access into the commercial and extend up into the rest of the development. Item number 4, they had a comment about we had an alleyway in there to allow access through there. And number 5 is sliding that roadway connection from the north further to the west. Next slide, please. So here's the dimensional requirements I had mentioned. And so there were, when this was originally designed, the original preliminary plat, the ACHD guidelines for roadways were much different than they are now. And like Heath was explaining. And so that's really what precipitated realigning the collector all the way to the west side and aligning to the south. when this was originally approved for preliminary plat, nobody was talking about roundabouts. There was plans for a four-way traffic light at Maple Grove and Lake Hazel. So anyway, to get all this to work dimensionally and to make an effort to align with Blueprint Boise for their density expectations, we settled in on this townhome layout. And this latest version is a little bit different from the last one. These are all street-facing units, so two-car garage, a driveway facing the street, and then you can see some of the dimensions there. So there's you can see Deep Freeze Road, which is number 3. That's required to be a minimum of 330 feet away from Lake Hazel. And that's really our separation between the commercial to the south and the residential to the north. And as well as the rest of the streets that are in there, we ended up with a private lane, we have the collector, and then we have a reduced urban local, which is item number 1 that connects to the south. Those have very specific dimensional requirements and buffers associated with them to align with ACHD's requirements. Back to number 3, Deep Freeze, that would be a public street. And ACHD's comment was to have that dead end into a radiused turnaround in the commercial zone. And then, well, let's go to the next slide. So based on those dimensional requirements is really what's driving this change in the zoning request. You can see that there's that little strip there in the middle. That's approximately 2 acres that we're requesting to change to residential from commercial. And then I guess items of note are that we've dedicated about 2 acres for right-of-way to ACHD. Next slide. This is circulation pattern. So we had many neighborhood meetings. We had originally started out with a multifamily layout on this site, but after working through with the agencies and then also the neighbors, we wanted to make sure we had good access to the commercial to make it viable, and also to encourage people to stay on as they, give them good access into the commercial and help prevent people cutting through the subdivision. And so that's one of the reasons we'd like to have that second right-in, right-out off of Lake Hazel. That'll allow people they've got a right-in, right-out off of Maple Grove. They would have a right-in, right-out off of Lake Hazel, and then they've got the main access at Cold Snap on the west
Mr.
side.
Bragg, go ahead. We'll give you a couple more minutes, but if you can get close to wrapping it up then.
Okay. Next slide, please. Open space. Next slide, please. That's utilities. We probably go next slide. Okay, so conclusion, we agree with the staff report. And then we request that we could continue to work with ACHD to iron out these last few items, which we've addressed in this latest site plan that I just showed you. And the one thing that we need to finalize with them is allowing for that second right-in, right-out off of Lake Hazel. We'd stand for questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Birch.
So, John, the materials that were submitted to us amount to 1,635 pages, and a lot of those materials are comments from the public objecting to what you're wanting to do. And I don't mean to sound argumentative, but I do want to anticipate what we're going to be hearing here in just a few minutes. So let me ask you a few questions in that regard. So one of the specific comments that was made by one of the residents that would border where your townhomes would be is to the effect that I knew what this development was going to be. I knew what the zoning was going to be. I knew it was going to have a commercial element. But I never knew that the back of my property was going to butt up against townhomes. And they've expressed some of the concerns, as many of the other residents have, about what it means to have townhomes as opposed to a single-family home. And so playing into that are provisions that the development would not cause undue damage, hazard, or nuisance to persons or property in the vicinity. And the residents are alleging in some cases here that it does exactly that. And so my question is, was there consideration to do something here after the roundabout was put in and whatnot to develop it in a manner that did not include townhomes? Did you look at it and say, well, would it be actually feasible to put single-family homes here? Or is it a question of how much money could be generated by the acreage there?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Birch, yes, we did. And what you'll find is, I guess maybe I'll go back to some of the questions you had for Brent earlier on, which was, number of units and the density, and then also working with the city. So one of the pinch points for this whole design is the fact that our development's allowance to be able to connect to city sewer is forcing us to comply with Blueprint Boise. And that Blueprint Boise wants 8 to 12 units per acre. And that's why early on we had started with a multifamily layout. We did concepts with apartment buildings on it. And through neighborhood meetings, we obviously got very strong pushback from the neighbors on apartment buildings. And so we went through a variety of concepts and changed, and we would kind of go around in a circle. We'd do our neighborhood meeting, we'd go back to the county, talk to Brent, we'd go to the city, we'd talk to Andrea over there, talk to ACHD, and we just kept working this thing, working it. I mean, we've I don't know how many concepts we put together, quite honestly. It was 15 to 20, and to come up to where we are as of today. This latest plan, we are, Blueprint Boise wants the 8 to 12 units per acre, and we're at just over 6 units per acre. So we've been pushing on the city to minimize the number of units there. We're at 50 units right now. The other thing we have, there was a question about a 2-story. All these units will be single-story, and they're all street-facing. So they'll have a 2-car garage with a driveway in the front to help with parking, because that was another concern, was parking. So that's really kind of how we got to where we are.
So Chairman, can I follow up?
Mr. Birch, go ahead.
So John, I guess the question would be, so what does the owner of the property do if this body, and then when it gets appealed, as it certainly would be, to the Board of County Commissioners, also said, no, we're not going to approve the zoning change? What happens then?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Birch, I honestly don't know. I don't know, because the city has flat out told us that if we don't abide or appease their requests, we won't receive sewer service to the overall property.
Okay. John, thank you very much. Appreciate your candor.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Commissioner Blitman.
a lot of the residents that live behind in these other earlier stages of Winters Run are here today. And I can see that if I was a resident and we had a park that was already overcrowded, and then I was expecting there to be 19 more families, and now there's going to be 54 more families, and so that's 35 more families using all the same facilities. Have you thought about any mitigation for those families who expected one thing and are now getting something else?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blitman, I guess I would maybe argue that point in that the original preliminary plat was approved with a almost 3-acre park, and then also a swimming pool. It is a small swimming pool. We are far exceeding our open space requirements on this phase of it. And so I don't know that there's, I mean, we've also worked on this layout in order to make it a walkable space. And so we've got a lot of pathways connecting through. It's not recreational space per se. The park has a playground. It is a larger park, particularly by today's standards. I don't think you see them that big anymore. But it is a more dense layout. And here again, I would point to the Boise requirements. The majority of the site is commercial in nature, which does not support active open space, although we do have very generous buffers. We've got a 10-foot wide multi-use pathway along the south and the east sides. And then we've got, we've made all the pedestrian connections all the way to and through the entire space. So we have landscape buffers throughout as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Murphy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, Mr. Brecken. When did this piece of property originally become zoned R6/ and C2?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Murphy, it was when it was pre-platted in 2013.
In 2013?
Yes, sir.
And you had mentioned, I think you or your colleague had mentioned that you have existing entitlements. What does that mean?
There is, the preliminary plat is still active, so the original plan or original zoning that was shown on there, or the current, I guess I should say, the current zoning.
So the original plat that was approved in 2013, zone R6, C2, that's what you're saying you're entitled to, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have just a couple too. So the new residential area that you're proposing, that will fall under the Winters Run HOA. That'll be part of their HOA.
Yes,
They'll
Mr.
have
Chairman.
control over that. And then will you retain ownership of the commercial area? Those two, are they separated out from each other, or what ownership will the commercial areas fall under?
Mr. Chairman, they will be sold, just like there's the one lot on the far west that is, well, I guess I should say to the best of my knowledge, they'll be sold as commercial. I don't know if the developer is planning to lease those, but I know the veterinary clinic is looking to build on that lot on the far west.
They plan to purchase that building, the veterinary clinic, is that?
As far as I know.
Okay.
As far as I know.
And so, so you have, and so you're going from 54 units down to 50 now?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
What is your price point that you're kind of shooting for, or that you think that expect in there?
Boy, I'm not sure what townhomes are going for at this time, Mr. Chairman. I mean, off the cuff, I would expect they're going to be at least $400,000.
So you're just developing the site. You're not going to be builder of the townhomes?
Oh, no, Mr. Chairman, I myself, no, I'm just designing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. One more here. I think that's it. Any other questions that we have?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Murphy, go ahead.
I forgot one thing, I apologize, Mr. Brecken. So on R12, the lot size per dwelling is 3,500, as stated in the code, and you're asking for 2,950, is that right?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Murphy.
If R12?
Actually, it's with the latest changes, we're down to 50 lots, and that comes out to about just over 3,200 square feet.
Okay, and then, just curious, 3,200 square foot lot, what would be the footprint of your single-story townhouse that would also accommodate your parking structure or garage for said townhome? Like, what's an average lot coverage that the home would be sitting on?
Well,
Like, say 3/4 of that, maybe, or what do you? Or would they be sharing walls?
well, Commissioner
sharing
Murphy,
walls.
yes, it would be sharing walls because they're townhomes.
Okay.
They're an attached
Okay.
product, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? With that, we thank you for your presentation, and we'll invite you back up after the public testimony. Do we have anybody online?
No, we do not.
Okay. And we'll test my reading skills and your handwriting skills. When I call your name, if you'd come up, provide your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. I have just the last name of Medlin. State your name and address.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me. My name is Joseph Medlin. I live at 9146 West Stirrup Drive in Boise. And sir, can you please put up your presentation, slide number 3? To address your question directly, 54 homes is what it was. It took a while to get to that, up from 19. That's a big change. To address the other question about parking, no, there's no consideration for parking. The reason I wanted to pull up this one, I think it might have been the next slide, shows the developments below, or 2 slides down. Talked about having, yes, that one, thank you. Talking about having apartments to the south and condominiums to the south. What they didn't mention was the neighborhood directly behind that in the south is loaded with cars that are overflowed from those condominiums and from the apartments. And so that's going to be the same thing that happens with us. What they also didn't mention to tell you was that the CC&Rs for our HOA, or I refer to it as developer-controlled association because there's no homeowner input to it at all. It requires that no parking on the street overnight. That's going to be violated, but they don't seem to care, I don't imagine, because we've had lights knocked down, trees knocked down, cut down, no address to that. So it's going to be just that times 50. I'm grateful that we don't have 432 units of four-story apartments going in there as they planned before. But if we go back through this, they first blamed it on the Great Recession. Hey, we didn't get it done before the Great Recession. Then they said, oh, COVID, we haven't been able to build it for COVID. Then they said, hey, we lost track of the extension for the sewer. Internal, you gave them that. Hey, oh yeah, by the way, the second extension you gave us, you only gave us a year, not 2 years. It's your fault, your predecessors, whoever this body was. And now it's Boise's fault that they're requiring more homes in there. If they wanted to get this done, they could have gotten it done. Since 2017, almost everything east of Maple Grove through Cole, all that new subdivision has been built since 2017. And then you go to the other side, 5 Mile, all of that's been built at 5 Mile and Maple Grove. So the reason they're dragging their feet is, can we get more requirements to get more units, to get more money? And so if they wanted to do this, they could. If the driving factor is, hey, it's Boise's, Blueprint Boise, this is the first we've heard about R6 being inadequate. Nobody said that when they said R20 for apartments. They didn't say Boise's making us do it. They just wanted to go and do it. But now it's Boise's fault all of a sudden. I would ask, for that final mid-mile thing, why don't you just do 1 for 1? If you got to reroute the traffic, we've been consistent for 3 years that this has been going on. Don't change commercial. Don't Don't give up any residential or any commercial for residential. We've been consistent, nothing more than R6. Build what you said you were going to build. And that's what we would ask them to do, is please build what you said you were going to build, and just let us get on with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Next, the last name of Barnes. State your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Sure. Nick Barnes, 5836 South Arctic Way. First of all, I want to thank you guys for hearing public comment tonight and for your questions to Brecken. First of all, is I think that you guys were able to identify there's a little bit of conjecture in some of what was offered from their testimony. The only thing that Brecken has presented to the neighborhood that would have included high density, we actually were on board with. They were going to put in storage units with some duplexes, and we were actually on board with that, but they never presented that to you guys. So just kind of setting the record straight here. They also mentioned that the whole area has changed, and this has kind of influenced their change to the design. The only thing that's changed in the area is more housing. They also like to say that a few residents were opposed, but I think you guys sniffed that one out. There were thousands of responses in opposition to changes to this plat. This is a very heavily residential corridor as it stands, and what the area lacks is commercial services, not more homes. Rezoning this parcel to higher density residential removes one of the few remaining commercial plots in the area. So we ask you not to allow that rezone. Approving more housing here will not solve a housing shortage. Believe me, there's plenty down there, but it will exacerbate a commercial shortage that we currently have. We don't need to rezone when there's an existing pipeline of residential plots that are out there with entitlement currently. The pipeline is full. All they need to do is pick a different parcel to put more residential property on. We need the commercial in our end of town. You guys asked a question about how long has this been going on. This development has original entitlement back in 2003, or plat in 2003. It's over 2 decades. If they wanted this done, just like the gentleman before me said, this could have been done a long time ago. I really feel like this is mostly about squeezing more units onto the same land, and frankly, none of the residents in the area want it. I think that the Lake Hazel Maple Grove thoroughfares, they're already major arterial corridors. I implore you to go and take a drive between 3 and 6 p.m. You'll know what I'm talking about. Infrastructure, guys, it should lead development. It shouldn't be chasing it. The next question that I would ask is, if zoning can change 20 years later, then what does zoning ultimately mean for us anyways? I'll close here because I'm about out of time. The area does not need more housing density. It needs services, infrastructure, and balanced planning. Do you mind if I finish up?
Sure.
Approving the rezone would sacrifice long-term community needs for a very short-term developmental gain, and we don't want it. We ask you not to approve this because the request will just reward the developer for dragging their feet over the last 20 years. And I think it's not responsible planning if approved, and I think it sets the wrong precedent. Thank you so much for your time.
Mr. McKinsey, any questions? I have one. There's, if you could explain this for me, as I'm reading through this, though, you want commercial, they're putting in 24 commercial units in there.
Mhm.
So it seems like nobody has problem with the commercial or the traffic that it will generate, but it's those 50, now we're down to 50 townhouses.
Yep.
That are going to be right up against you. Tell me, I don't hear anything about the problems the commercial will bring. You're getting the commercial that everybody down there seems to want. Tell me what the problem is, though.
Well, what the problem is that they're talking about rezoning, and all of these arguments that they're up here stating are that it's just like the gentleman before me said, it's been this, it's been that, it's been this, it's been that. It could have been developed a long time ago. What this really feels like is a bait and switch. What they promised from day one, they want to change it midstream. Zoning is supposed to make fair make it fair and reasonable for the residents of the area, like myself and everybody that's sitting behind me, just about everybody that's sitting behind me. And I think that trying to make a change midstream, it's a squeeze to put extra lots on that, or extra units on that same parcel of land.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Last name of Nettles. You state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Nick Nettles. I live at 9352 West Avalanche Drive here in Boise. Thank you for your time this evening. I'll try to be brief. I've grown up in Southwest Boise all my life. I grew up at Cole and Amity. I currently live in Winters Run. I have 2 boys. I've seen a lot change out there in Southwest Boise. What I have not seen come along with the thousands of houses and also the thousands more that are going to come. Muriel Farms is going to, the traffic on Muriel Farms is going to use Maple Grove. I've seen thousands of homes, but really very limited commercial development. And also, Chairman Wickstrom, to your point regarding, to your question to Mr. Barnes about commercial, everyone in the area, in the neighborhood is happy with the commercial. Commercial will actually drive down traffic. Folks won't have to go clog the roads headed north to get basic commercial services. A problem that we have is they're taking over 20% of the current C2 zone land and changing it to R12. So folks don't have a problem with the commercial. We have a problem with them taking over 20% of the commercial ground and saying, hey, you guys should be happy, we're giving you something. That's not, zoning is supposed to be fair and predictable for people who live in the area, for people who are looking to move and live in the area, and also for commercial partners to come in. They want to know that what is zoned is going to come. As Mr. Clark stated, a lot has changed, okay? This is the first we've heard about Blueprint Boise requiring R8 to R16. And in his presentation, he alludes to the fact that really we should be happy that they're not putting R16 on that lot. So, smile, take it on the chin, have a good day, big guy. When really, he makes no mention that they could do R8. There's R8 single-family homes in Hazelwood Village that have been developed, and Hazelwood Village is a nice development. If you folks have seen it, it's great. Mr. Danielson talks about traffic and levels of service. The levels of service in the area already fail. Muriel Farms has to wait to develop because Maple Grove is already at, I believe, an F. Additionally, Maple Grove and Lake Hazel have been proposed to be widened it was supposed to be widened years ago. ACHD just punted Lake Hazel to 2031, which is when they will begin design. Not entitlements or buying right away. Design in 2031. Also, I would like it on record that I've reached out to Mr. Davis with Brecken, and I asked him to negotiate in good faith regarding this lot and what they were doing, because I said the density that you're bringing is unacceptable, as well as the zero added amenities or green space to the neighborhood. And he said, I'll get back to you. I called him the next day. He said, yeah, the developer's not interested in that. Have a good day. So I could go on and on. I want you guys to know we're trying to negotiate in good faith with this developer. The developer's dragged his feet, hasn't done anything with this lot. Folks we really want the land developed as is. It was R6 when I bought it. It was supposed to be an additional 19 homes, and now we should be, according to the presenters, we should be happy that it's just 50. And that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like what this state is meant and has done. So, thank you.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nettles, real quick. What year is your home?
2006.
And did you buy it new?
I did not.
You did not buy it new. Okay.
2015.
2015.
Yep.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stover. State your name and address and 3 minutes for you.
Yes, Rich Stover, 9696 West Sedgbury Drive. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I have to agree with all my other neighbors who have testified before me, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably agree with all the ones that follow me. This plan we seen tonight, every meeting I've come to, it's been a different plan. I've never seen the same plan twice, and I've attended about all of them. And so we're talking about taking, when I built our house in 2021, I was told it was going to be R6 with the commercial as originally planned. And now we're talking about changing that to R12, and then also taking, as Mr. Nettles mentioned, 20% of that commercial property and making that a condensed R12 zoning as well. The other thing, and I'm glad with your pointed questions that you pointed out, there's no additional green space being added to this. And so the green space we already have is overcrowded, and this is just going to even crowd that green space even more. It's also going to deteriorate the property values of our homes. Like they've said, the apartment complex across the street, it's wall-to-wall cars, it's very busy, lots of traffic, and we see that happening with the neighborhood with this R12 zoning, and seeing it deteriorate the property value of our homes, as well as I think the average value of our homes is usually somewhere around $500,000 upwards to about $800,000 is the value of the homes, and they're going to put in these townhomes. So that's going to affect us as well. I think they already talked about the commercial, and other than that, that's all I have. But thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay. Next, looks like Stern, S.T. Stephen, on South Seabreeze. No? Carol Vidalis?
I just say I agree with everybody else.
Thank you. Okay. Darnell Alexander? Yes.
If they do stand up and do that.
Okay. Just before you start, Carol, at some point, we need a sheet up in front, and you'll just sign. Well, this doesn't do it, does it? She's got her name on here, so this is sufficient?
She signed it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's cancel that. You're good. Go ahead. Name on it.
Darnell Alexander, 9229 West Stirrup Drive, Boise. I also agree with the speakers before me. I'm not in favor of the proposal to change this to an R12. When we bought the property, when we researched the property, it was told to us that it would be R6 development and the commercial property would later be developed. As far as development on the commercial property, the contractor or developer has used that for a waste dump in all the previous stages. So myself, if I was looking at this property for commercial purposes, I would hesitate to, for that reason, plus the infrastructure reasons, the roads, the sewer systems, and everything else. My house borders this property. An R6 would have put one house right behind it. R12 puts two 10 feet away from the fence, with the potential of having 2 stories for a back window. Beyond that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Commissioner Blitman?
Did your opinion about having townhomes change if they were going to be 1 story? Or would you prefer a 2-story house in your backyard?
Oh, definitely 1 story. It'd be better if they weren't detached or attached either, but
Okay, thank you. I just want to say if you prefer 1 story over 2-story.
definitely 1 story. There's a slight hill and a rise there, and where they're proposing to put these townhouses would slope off into Lake Hazel, and it would, if it was 2-story, looking out my back window, I'd see nothing but buildings.
Thank you.
Commissioner Murphy?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Alexander, just curious, how many stories is your house?
It's got a bonus room over the garage, so technically it's 2-story.
Okay, and would you say the majority of the houses in the area surrounding the project bit are multiple stories, or are they all single?
Multiple stories. I guess there's a height restriction on R6, and it's less than an R12.
That's
height
true.
restriction.
Yeah, I was just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Next, you have Carlos Vidalis. welcome. You have the name and address and 3 minutes.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you. My name is Carlos Vidalis. I live at 10963 West Oleana Drive. I had a little different presentation I was going to give you, but I'd like to point out, first of all, that I do not believe the argument that Boise is making them do it. I have read the sewer moratorium lifting. I was participated on that. I know for a fact that they are not imposing you that you must have high-density housing to give you sewer. Because our developer in Hazelwood Village is going to add 20 acres of houses, and he's going to be continuing to use R8 as the rest of Hazelwood Village. So it is not true, I cannot believe it, the Boise require them to do R12. Also, if you go back in time, the first meeting, neighborhood meeting they had, I think was about 3 years ago, they were presenting a plan to build 247 units on this land. They were already planning 3 years ago, before the sewer moratorium was lifted, to build high-density housing there. So no, I think that they just want to build more houses because they may make more money in there. That's my personal opinion. I really don't know for a fact. The houses in Hazelwood Village that Brent Daniels mentioned about are nothing like these homes. I live there. I walk in front of those houses every day, almost. And they are detached houses. They have a space between. They are not joint houses, and they are all R8. And this will be R12. So no, it's not the same. I'd like to point out that, yes, we do need a lot of businesses in this area. Yeah, we get 24 businesses in here, but guess what? We need 200 businesses in the area. We don't need just 24. No, any kind of line that you're taking away from here, we are going to be reducing the number of businesses. You know, there is already, because of the sewer moratorium has been lifted, there is about 500 acres of vacant land that can be developed for houses in this area. Why take this time? Why put more density housing in here and really mess up with the neighborhood? Now, at least in our neighborhood, there is a similar situation like this, like the houses he wants to build. There's a separate HOA right next to Hazelwood Village. In that particular case, the developer had the wisdom to separate that development to a separate HOA because it's so dissimilar to the rest of Hazelwood Village. And they have a lot of problems in there. I can tell you they have a lot of problems. They are not a happy HOA. And now, in this case, this developer is proposing to build houses like that neighborhood and attach it to houses which are significantly, well, different, I should say. People are people. They're not going to get along well, as I say. So I would very much like to encourage you to reject this application. I think the land needs to be developed the way it was intended to be developed before. R6 for homes, just build those houses and use all the space available for commercial, to develop commercial, because we really need it badly. Thank you very much. If you have any questions for me.
Any questions? Thank you very much. First name is Jeff. Armala? I'm glad you're smiling. Feel like your name and address.
I apologize for my penmanship. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you. My neighbors have really expressed...
Your name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeff Arnold, 9303 West Stirrup Drive. My neighbors have all expressed the concerns here. The commercial I think is very important for that area. And I just ask you guys to consider the needs of what needs to happen in the area for the growth. And the high density is just a pressure that doesn't need to be applied here. That's all I have to say. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Arnold.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm Stephen Terry, and you read my name, but is it all right if I come up now?
What's your last name?
Terry, T-E-R-Y, first name is Stephen Seabreeze.
I don't have you on here, but we'll give you a chance to speak at the end. Jeff and Sherry Patterson? I'm sorry, Blake or Blaine?
Yeah, Blaine. I get called a lot of names. But. Blaine Patterson, 9137 West Stirrup Drive, right across from a fence from the proposed townhouses. I only just urge you to stick to the plan. I bought the house in 2019. I moved here from the Magic Valley in healthcare. Moved to Boise, did my research, looked at the zoning, talked to the agent from the developer, and I asked what's going back there, and they said, single-family homes on this other side of the fence, they're single-story. On the section of West Europe I'm on, they're all single-story houses. It was going to match that, and then it was going to be commercial on the bottom. All I ask is you stick to that plan.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Cody Floch? Your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Cody Flock, 9208 West Stirrup Drive. And what the developers, as they've talked tonight, want to keep you from remembering is that this commercial property is the mix in the mixed-use development of Winters Run, which is, 60, 80 acres. This is what was set aside however many 13 years ago or 20 years ago, depending upon when you want to consider this project started, for commercial development. By taking away 20% of that, it is a significant change to what was agreed to that many years ago. We shouldn't be looking at housing densities on this little piece of property. We should be looking at housing densities on this, what was originally approved. And that's why we need this commercial development here, is because of the whole project that they were approved and had the opportunity to build 20 years ago. And now they're finally getting to the finish line, supposed to be doing the hard stuff of putting in the commercial development that they've kicked down the road for 20 years. And now all of a sudden they want to come back and renegotiate and come up with new regulations and requirements why they can't go through with what they originally came up with. 19 more homes that are consistent with the other 200 and some that have been built and sold, and finish out the commercial development. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you very much. Anybody else that, Mr. Terry, why don't you, okay, what I'll do, I've got a blank sheet just before you start. So, Mr. Terry, as you leave, he's got a sheet, just sign, put your name and address on there. So, and if you could state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Stephen Terry, 5968 South Seabreeze Way. I'm opposed of this rezone. I purchased my home back in '09, and I was expecting the current zoning that's there right now. One of the things reason why I'm opposed is there's several people that have pointed out there is like a C12 on the other side, south side of Lake Hazel, and the housing or all the cars and parking, they're parked across the street, they're parked everywhere, and we're afraid to have that type of parking around our subdivision as well. Lake Hazel has become a main corridor now, and adding more homes than originally planned will make that worse. And so those are the things I'm opposed for. So.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Cherry.
All right, thank you.
He'll sign right there. State your name and address, and as you leave, there's a sheet right there on the desk. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Robert Bose, 5935 South Arctic Way. My home is next to this property in question. And I would just like to point out that there is no shortage of residential areas in this side of town. We've got the Locale subdivision coming, which is 2,000 plus homes. We've got Murillo Farms coming, which is 3,500 homes. We've got the Valor subdivision, which is 2,300 homes. We've got Spring Rock, which is 2,800 homes. And this is all in that general area between Southwest Boise and Kuna. In addition to that, there's Sky Mesa, Paloma Ridge, Indian Creek Ranch, Arroyo Vista, and the list just keeps going on and on. This isn't a necessity that we need more housing in this area. The question was initially raised to the developer whether this was an attempt to squeeze the maximum amount of money out of this property. I would say that yes, it is. When this was presented to the neighbors at a neighborhood meeting, the first proposal was 4-story apartment buildings next to these single-family residential homes. And when that received a lot of pushback from the neighbors, it was shifted to storage units. And the neighborhood was somewhat agreeable to that. We said this is something maybe we can work with. And then for whatever reason, that proposal just disappeared, and then it became townhomes. Never were we presented with any kind of a proposal for single-family homes, even if the density requirement was increased. There was no attempt to make any single-family home fit into that proposed increase in density, which another gentleman already stated. I agree. I don't think that is a reason for this proposal. I don't think the city of Boise is requiring that. When I first moved into my home, I specifically asked, what's the plan for this property next to my home? And I was assured and promised that, oh, it's additional single-family homes next to you with a commercial component slightly further out. That's what I was promised, and I know that that's what a lot of the neighbors were promised. And had I known that this proposal was going to turn into townhomes, I can honestly tell you I would have not purchased that property. And I know that's a very common consensus with a lot of the neighbors. A gentleman living across the street from me by the name of Rocky, he sold his house and he moved just because this was proposed, not because it's been approved, but because it could potentially be approved. So it's already having an impact on our neighborhood, even just the fact that it's proposed for this change. I'm about out of time, so let me just state, there's no shortage of homes in this area. There is a shortage of commercial property. This will have an impact on the neighborhood, and it already has. And I would just respectfully request that this proposal be denied. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? You pointed to somebody. Oh, okay. With that, any last chance here. With that, we'll state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Scott Signer, 5859 South Arctic Way. So I'm a native of Idaho, and I actually built my home in Winters Run subdivision in Phase 1 in 2006. And during that time, from 2006 to where we are now, I've seen all the growth. And even I actually was born and raised a mile from where my house is now. So I've seen it all. And I guess what I'd like to say is that with the amount of houses that we all have, we don't have the commercial. And so I'd like to ask that we hold to the agreement that that property stays the way it's supposed to stay for commercial. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you very much. Come on. Anybody else? Going once, twice? Oh, yeah, thank you. Please sign. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Richard Meyer, and I live at 5951 South Aleut Avenue in Winters Run. And my question is, as I was listening to this, if they're proposing single family in this area, why are they asking for a 40-foot limit to the height of the house? That seems to be out of balance to me. It seems to be too much. And with all the changes they made, I wouldn't trust their intent. Today it's they're asking for single family, and so we're going to be here in another month arguing that they said single family, and now they want to put in 40-foot tall buildings in that area. I request that this proposal be rejected and that we continue with the plan as originally done, R6, C2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you very much. Coming up. Thank you for being very good about directing people to the desk. Appreciate that. Yes, please come forward if you'd like. Just please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Victoria Medlin. I
Pull the
am
microphone down so you can hear you a little better. Thank you.
Victoria Medlin, and I live at 9146 West Stirrup Drive. I haven't heard anybody else say that our neighborhood is all single-family homes, and this would be a total departure from what our neighborhood already is. We all bought there because we wanted to be in a neighborhood, and we have great neighbors, and to change it and it be included with all these townhomes changes everything. And they also said that the roads will be narrower, and what other people have already mentioned, narrow roads, only two cars per household. I'm sorry, does anybody have a teenager that has a car? Does anybody have more than one car? I mean, it's ludicrous. It's going to spill over into the neighborhood. And so, but it fundamentally changes what we all bought into and what we were all told. And that's a problem. That's an integrity problem. And I would love this board to please consider that, to not take, and this developer has been in this neighborhood from 2003, and it's not an HOA. It was sold to us as an HOA. It's not. We have no say. We have no meetings. I don't get any information. You try to contact the HOA, whatever the company is that has it, they don't answer us. So it's not what it seems. The developer is just kind of jacking us around, telling people one thing and then doing another. So I would consider it to stay the way it is, please. And that's what I would ask of you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much for coming up. And with that, we'll close that part of the public testimony and turn the time back over to Mr. Danielson.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, before you close the public hearing, there are a couple exhibits that need to be entered into the record. So my presentation will be exhibit number 78, and the applicant's presentation will be exhibit number 79.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Yeah.
Commissioner Blitman.
I've got a question about the city of Boise's letter, and the only letter I see is on page, 457. It's a letter from the conditions of approval from the Public Works. Did they give us any other feedback besides this letter?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blitman, they did not. As Mr. Clark had stated in his presentation, they have met with the planning staff quite a bit. So they've met with Andrea Tuning over at the city, and so, and Mr. Clark probably, as Rebecca, can probably go a little bit more in terms of how kind of the city works and what they've told the applicant. But I know that the applicant has worked extensively with both the Public Works Department and also with the Planning and Development Services Department. And the Planning and Development Services Department did not provide any comments on this application, but they are aware and have seen the plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr.
Commissioner Murphy.
Sorry. Hello, Mr. Danielson. So is there any validity to the statement that Boise City is going to somehow quell attachment to sewer unless a zone change is made? I see here that the Public Works Department said that the original preliminary plat remains active and access to Boise City sanitary sewer facilities will be permitted. And so if it's the preliminary plat remains active, to me that means the R6C2 plat. So it would seem that they are allowed to connect, but just wanted your professional thoughts on that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Murphy, one of the things that that's kind of problematic is, I don't have the original preliminary plat up, but we had kind of, if we look back at ACHD's comments, kind of about this so originally, I think Snowy River is kind of going, originally in the initial preliminary plat was going like this and then coming down like this. So the issue that the applicant runs into, the developer runs into is, I'm not sure with what was approved in terms of the original preliminary plat, if that street connection would still meet ACHD's policy or not. So that's, kind of throws a little bit of a wrench into, can what was initially approved on the preliminary plat, could that be built and still meet ACHD policy? I'm not really sure. That's kind of a question that, if they came, the applicant maybe could address that a little bit more in their rebuttal.
But more specifically, access to sewer. And I realize sometimes they run along the roads, but certainly they could, if they were to rework, they would just rework it. They've been granted access to the sewer. Where that connection point is up for debate, but the access remains granted. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, if they were initially going for what was the initial plan plat that was totally approved and it didn't make any changes, they could do that. The problem is if they make any changes to what was initially approved at the preliminary plat, the city of Boise wants that preliminary plat to conform to Blueprint Boise, which is the adopted comprehensive plan. So the initial preliminary plat was basically approved before Blueprint Boise was adopted by us. We adopted Blueprint Boise in 2015, and then this initial development was kind of had approvals in around 2003 and 2013, and this was before we officially adopted the Blueprint Boise as the adopted comprehensive plan. So in my conversations I've been with Andrea Tuning at the city, what she has stated to the applicant, and one of the meetings I attended was that they can do what they were approved, or if they make any changes, it needs to meet the Blueprint Boise standard. And so that's what the Boise Planning and Development Services has told the applicant, and that's what Andrea Tuning had told the applicant in one meeting, that when the applicant was kind of showing working with designs with ACHD, City of Boise, and AA County, that's kind of what Andrea had mentioned, is that the city really wants that density.
Mr. Chairman, for follow-up?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Commissioner Murphy.
So they are they would be grandfathered in under the R6 C2, would they not? I mean, the city can't force somebody to do something unless they wanted to kind of create a new plat with higher density units. But if it was still remained the R6 C2, that would be in effect whether they move a couple, houses around or whatever to accommodate a road or what have you. That would still be in effect, would it not?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Murphy, that's more of a legal question, so that's probably, I'm not an attorney, so, I think an attorney would have to answer that question. I'm not really sure on the legality of that, so.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions? I just had a couple kind of along those same lines, Mr. Danielson. So in the comments, it was suggested that that area has been designated as a neighborhood activity center. How much power does that have to dictate what goes on there? The neighborhood activity center wants mixed use, higher density. But again, as it was mentioned, just grandfathering that in as an R6.
So basically with the neighborhood activity center, what's kind of envisioned, so this is kind of what's called the future land use map, and so this is kind of what the city of Boise kind of envisions for the neighborhood or the area. And so what they envision at the intersection of Lake Hazel and Maple Grove is they envision what's called the neighborhood activity center. And the neighborhood activity center is characterized by having small-scale retail and service uses that may include mixed use or attached housing opportunities. So they envision kind of compact development. So when you think of compact development, it is townhomes, apartments, things like that, along with kind of the commercial uses as well. So overall in this neighborhood at the intersection, it's not just strictly commercial that's envisioned there, but it's a mix of uses with, commercial plus more of a higher density, kind of residential product types in the area. So that's kind of what the future land use map of the adopted comprehensive plan kind of shows for that area.
Thank you.
Mr.
Go ahead, Commissioner Murphy, go ahead.
Did you want to follow up?
No, I got it. It's a different direction, so go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Danielson, can we just go over what the Ada County Sheriff said? They said it's kind of, they need more people to make that happen, basically, is what they said. Is that correct?
Let me go back to my notes here. So the A County Sheriff's Office in their comments, speculated that the development would increase traffic and could result in an increase in call volume. So it sounds like kind of in the letter that they ran, I think they mentioned that kind of in this off of Brogan Drive, this complex here, they do have a little bit more of a higher call volume from this complex. And so I think there was just some speculation, in the sheriff's office, a letter that we received from them. So that, I mean, I think they assume higher density would lead to higher call volume because you have more people that may be responding to.
And then they said that could be, both of the aforementioned concerns could be mitigated with staffing increases, is what I'm seeing. Anyway, so that, our extra, not that it's our department, if you will, but are they going to hire new people for this area, or is that just a generic thing? The other question is school. What's the I guess, development standard for checking with the local school district? Is there a quantity of houses, like 50 or 100 or 200, where you have to kind of, assume that there's so many kids per houses and see what kind of impact that may have?
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Murphy, we did transmit it to the West Ada School District. The West Ada School District didn't provide any comments back on to us. I did, look at, the West Ada School District's website. So they have a data center on their website. So if you go to their website, it looks like over about the past 5 years, the enrollment within the West Ada School District has kind of stagnated. So overall, in general, nationally, people are having less babies essentially. So school-age population is starting to decline overall through the nation. Looking at, from what I recall, looking at their website, it looks like their biggest grades are basically the high school grades now, which is the 9th through 12th grades. And then the other area of schools kind of within, like Lake Hazel Middle School, I think this is zoned for Silver Sage. It looks like those schools overall have had kind of a decline probably in the last 4 or 5 years. So there's been a slight decline. I would say that Mountain View High School has had a little bit of an increase, but it's fairly, but at the middle school and high school and the elementary school level, the enrollment has either stabilized or started to kind of dip and decline a little bit.
Thank you very much for all my little questions. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Danielson,
Commissioner Billett, go ahead.
do we have any target date for when this particular location would be part of the city of Boise, like annexed in? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blowman, I myself, I don't have any, I haven't heard of any timelines. I don't know if Richard or Christy know of any timelines, but I don't know of any timelines.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blitman, it's, hard to say when the city will, they're primarily relying on sewer connections and willing annexations instead of forced annexations, so it's just an undetermined amount of time.
Follow-up question?
Go ahead.
So it's my understanding that the police department, so Ada County collects the impact fees for the police in this area, or does Ada County not have an impact fee for police?
I'll let Richard answer that question. Richard's been working on impact fees, and so he's the most knowledgeable person in the room on impact fees.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Blitman, I don't know if I'm the most knowledgeable, but yes, so Ada County has adopted sheriff impact fees. So any new dwellings would be levied a sheriff impact fee, and gearing up to adopt additional impact fees as well very soon for the unincorporated areas. Those sheriff impact fees aren't levied inside city limits, but just outside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rowley?
Yeah, question regarding, I think it was in that same letter from the sheriff department about bus service to the area. Was that part of the sheriff's letter, or did I read that somewhere else? Lack of bus service to this area?
I don't know if it was, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Riley, I don't think it was in the sheriff's letter, but I know one of the residents did mention that in their letters. So there was you are correct, there was a letter in the record that a resident was concerned that there wasn't mass transit to serve the higher density development. So that was kind of related to the traffic concern, that was part of more of a sub-concern, with the traffic.
So
that
follow-up to that, does the fact that this location is not in the city of Boise proper, does that preclude city bus service from going out to this area? Or do you know if there's plans for city bus stops that would cut down on traffic?
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Riley, so the mass transit system or public transit system is kind of a regional system. So it's not with the city of Boise, but it's a separate agency entity called Valley Regional Transit. And so Valley Regional Transit, just within the state of Idaho, there's not really a really good funding mechanism for mass transit in the state of Idaho. And so, the VRT, is able to serve outside city limits, so they could serve an unincorporated county. However, their funding is fairly limited. I don't think at this time there's really any immediate plans in the near future to serve this area. There could be plans, 5-10 years down the road that they could in the future, but I don't think there's any immediate plans in the next couple of years for them to serve this area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Commissioner Blitman?
I would offer as part of the answer to that question is that I recently met with somebody from the city of Kuna, and there's not even, it would be super expensive to get something even to the city of Kuna. So right now, there's not a lot of plans for bus service in southern Ada County.
Okay. Any other questions here? Mr. Danielson, so for our report, we don't have a copy, or we've not been able to see the most current preliminary plat that was shown on your report. We've seen it, but is this the first time we've had a chance to see that revised plat? So the one without the roundabout in the middle, I guess, so what you're looking at, this is the most recent, that's the most recent right there. Okay. It's just this is the first time we've been able to see it. All right, thank you. Any other questions? With that, we'll invite the applicant up. And how much time do they get on this? 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. You'll have 5 minutes. State your name and address again, please, for the record.
Thank you, Commissioners. Heath Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise. I was thinking as I was listening to the neighbors, at the county, you don't often get applications that are kind of ringed like this one. It's almost like a county infill project. And infill of any type is a challenge because you have people that live right next to it. There's a lot of strong feelings. You definitely heard the strong feelings. I think everybody's coming at this from, a place of good faith. I always try to think of that. People are worried about their most valuable asset. So I always try to take all of those comments in stride. With that in mind, this is not a popularity vote. The question is, how does it fit with the county code and the county requirements? How does it fit with, in this case, the overlay of the Blueprint Boise requirements? I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Before I do, a couple quick hitters. We do meet the parking standards. We do have the required open space. We did make the commitment to single story. I think that's kind of a big deal. If you look at the topography of this site, it drops off about 25 feet from where the existing properties are all the way down. So even if we had 2 stories, they wouldn't be up against what are often 2 stories that already exist. So I think that's a big deal. Commissioner Murphy, with regard to schools, that's something that comes up a lot in my practice. I'll just tell you, generally speaking, in West Ada, There's about 3,200 10th graders district-wide. There's 2,200 first graders district-wide. And that's a demographic wave that's pretty consistent across the various school districts. So they didn't provide a comment. There's not evidence in the record of overcapacity, but that's what I'm seeing generally speaking. And that information is publicly available. With regard to other infrastructure, the ACHD report shows that not only is the level of service acceptable, but also that the plan is in place to increase the capacity. So this is actually a scenario where the infrastructure is either there or there's a good plan for that infrastructure to be improved as we go. I do want to talk about townhomes. So when I was in law school, I lived in an attached townhome. I'll bet a lot of the people around here lived in attached townhomes at some point in life. I had a great time living in an attached townhome. It's what I could afford. It was a great neighborhood, lots of people close by. We had lots of friends. When it comes to townhomes, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. One, it's a different housing type. So with regard to the concerns about an impact on comps, it doesn't have an impact on single-family detached comps. It's a different housing type. But the bigger problem is that, and you could hear it either explicitly or implicitly, but we don't get to discriminate against people or a different housing type because we're concerned that people who don't make as much money are going to live there. We just don't get to. And to the contrary, when we talk about Blueprint Boise explicitly says in these nodes that there should be a variety of housing types, and this adds a different housing type that's not currently there. A couple other items, and I think we'll end with the Blueprint Boise thing. So, Commissioner Murphy, to your question about the zoning and whether we're vested in the zoning to connect to sewer, it's not the zoning that vests us, it's the plat that vests us, and we can no longer build that plat. That plat, again, the mid-mile collector has to move, and so we have to come in with a different type, we have to come in with a different arrangement. So, to be clear, there were questions about, okay, what does Boise require then? So Ada County Code says that Blueprint Boise controls in the area of impact, so that's one factor. The other factor is the Boise City Sewer Extension Policy, which was revised on February 3rd, 2026, and I've got a copy of it here, and I'll read for you the requirements for sewer extension and connection outside of city limits. You have to fully pay all funds, all design, permitting, and construction. 2, pay all applicable sewer fees. 3, follow the City of Boise Comprehensive Land Use Plan. You cannot connect to Boise City Sewer if Boise City deems your plan to not be consistent with Blueprint Boise. That's regardless, and that has continued through with this change. So there was a question about, okay, is this density driven by just what we want? Or why is it different at Hazelwood? So Hazelwood has a different Blueprint Boise land use designation. We have a mixed use and neighborhood activity center designation. And if you look at that, and it's on page 3-10 of Blueprint Boise, it says residential between 8 and 16 dwelling units per acre. What they have in mind, they talk about the characteristics, what are other examples of neighborhood activity centers. The two of the three that are identified are Hyde Park and Bound Crossing. So that's what the city has in mind for that neighborhood activity center. That's the kind of thing that we were having to kind of push and pull against in putting together this application, was to try to make sure that they're happy enough with this while we're not getting too beat up by our neighbors for asking for too much density, which you're feeling that pull and play through the course of this hearing. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions because I think my time's up.
Do you have any questions? Commissioner Rowley.
Yeah, regarding your characterization of townhomes, I concur. My first home my wife and I bought was a townhome because that's what we could afford. But the question on townhomes, specifically on this project, either the HOA or you as the developer, are there any stipulations for people not being able to rent these out? In other words, if you buy it, you need to live in it.
Commissioner Rowley, I don't know, I don't think we've gotten that far on this one, and I haven't had that conversation with the developer. And imposing owner-occupied restrictions just generally can become legally problematic unless that the developer voluntarily makes that choice at the beginning and imposes it in the CC&R. So that's something I'm happy to talk to the developer about, but I don't have a commitment one way or another on that one.
Well, I would suspect that the people that are opposed to it might be less opposed if they knew that these were people buying and moving into the homes as homeowners and not someone buying up a chunk of them and then renting them out to whoever they can get rent from.
I understand, Commissioner Rowley. I just can't make the commitment tonight, but we'll take that back to the developer. And if that's something they're ready to commit to, we'll do that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner Blitman?
It's my experience with townhouses that they typically have some sort of an agreement where somebody mows the lawns and so that they all kind of look the same, because not everybody needs a lawnmower when you have small lawns. Do you anticipate to have some sort of a community HOA-like thing?
Commissioner Blitman, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Blitman, yes, we would have common maintenance of the exterior landscaping, and that is one nice thing about it, is that, you know, the association makes sure that everything is up to snuff and you don't have the random people forgetting to mow or letting the tree die.
So second follow-up
Yes,
question.
go ahead.
So the person that lived in a townhome would have an HOA or common, maintenance agreement for their townhome.
Mhm.
And then they also would participate in the HOA for the swimming pool and
Oh.
all of that stuff, correct?
Commissioner Blitman, yeah. But I might have misunderstood your question a little bit before. I maybe didn't answer it very well. So this is part of what was anticipated to be a larger development. So the anticipation is that it would be part of the existing HOA. What typically happens with a townhome type product within an individual association is that there would be a special assessment for that townhome, so that the maintenance of those townhomes is not something that is having to be covered by existing homeowners. Does that answer your question? So it could be through the existing homeowners association, but it would have a separate charge so that the existing homeowners aren't having to subsidize that in any way.
Okay. I'll let some other people ask some
Okay.
questions and then I'll come back.
Any other questions on this side? Commissioner Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Clerk, appreciate that. Townhomes, agreed, I lived in a townhome many years ago. But I don't think in this particular instance, the situation is people discriminating against townhomes or lower income people, as you put it. I think it's more that the townhomes are kind of encroaching on their standard of life. I think that's more of the question, not the opposite, as it was framed. This is a small island, as you're well aware, and I know there's challenges with developing things like this, like you said, when you're surrounded on all sides. As far as the Blueprint Boise, I question the intent of it, because we've had a couple things before. One thing that comes to mind is the city of Star. They have their little pretty picture that in their AOI that they have dreams and visions for.
Mhm.
And, there are on occasion projects that come up where it makes sense because Star can't tell us, hey, we're going to be annexing in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, I can't even tell you. And for now, this works out. And so we've gone against a particular city area of interest when special circumstances arise. And I think this is a special circumstance that warrants a little bit more than just following a certain thing. And for planned new developments, because you're asking for a PUD, a rezone, and then you got a master site plan. But in the Ada County Code, there's little outs for these certain situations, as I'm sure you're well aware. So you know, public health, safety, or welfare is one of them, as I know you know. And undue adverse impacts is the other one. Would you mind saying why those two don't apply here, those two findings, if they were found?
I'm not sure I totally understand your question, but I'll give it a shot. So when I was listening to a lot of the conversation, and I'm not sure that I understand how a townhome infringes on the way of life of a single-family residence. So I disagree with the premise there. A townhome is a single-family residence as well. It just has a common wall.
It's more the quantity of people, the density.
Okay.
That's you know, and the townhome is just the deliverer of that density is all.
Okay, so I guess.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's fine. So with regard to the density and adverse impact, and so let's kind of work our way down the various things. So is the adverse impact based on a view? It can't be in this case. We're below them and we've committed to single story. So is the adverse impact based on traffic? ACHD report says that it's not. Is the adverse impact based on school capacity? No evidence in the record of that. So whenever we make these decisions, we have to make them based on substantial and competent evidence in the record. So there has to be something that people point to that says, this is the issue for my property. And as you look at the evidence in the record right now, I don't see an undue adverse impact. I don't see a health and safety issue. And in fact, the responses that are in the record from the agencies also bear that out. So I suppose that would be my response, is that we have to focus on what the actual evidence is in the record and not concerns about what kind of people might live in a townhome. So that's how I would respond.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity to say that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? I just had one quick one. So the configuration you've had to finally come up with on Snowy River, that's pretty well kind of drives what's going on there a lot. Is there, and that's kind of you're stuck on that. That's the one that's currently up.
Commissioner Wickstrom, or Chairman Wickstrom, I didn't want to demote you. So are you saying?
Are you stuck with that floor, that direction of the street, that curvature? And
So as we do these designs, diagonal streets are a challenge, right? Because we like things at 90-degree angles. We like making sure that everything lines up. And what we have to do is we have to connect from an existing stub on the northeast and make it all the way to another alignment on the south. And so in our view, the best way to do that, if we just went sideways and created a bunch of triangles, it's going to further disable the site and also disable the commercial. And so the best strategy that we could come up with was to create those two sweeping turns so that we could get some vertical perpendicular elements here to work with, and then make the connection that way. So, but a lot of that die was cast when the other collector came in on the south side of Lake Hazel on our western boundary.
so that road design, it really kind of messes up building our 6 units on that lot.
Yep.
Is my point. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've got some comments.
Yeah, Commissioner
You wanna go
Blitman.
first? Okay. I heard some residents that said that R8 was different than R12. And so that would be less density. And I also heard the residents say that they really liked having single story. So I think we've gotten a little bit of common ground there. I wondered why you wanted more commercial space versus residential space, because it seems to me like that pink line there could have just been commercial space too.
That's a good question, Commissioner Blitman, and I had a note to talk about that, and so thank you for raising that. So what we're talking about here is not, Eagle Road or other like large, highly trafficked commercial areas. And when you're not in a highly trafficked commercial area, visibility is huge. And so as we're looking at this, we see the most efficient and the most likely to have success commercial layout is basically to have two layers, 2 tiers of commercial, right? So you can see we've got commercial up against Lake Hazel that will be the most visible. And then you've got commercial back against Deep Freeze that's going to be less visible. If you had a third tier of commercial behind that commercial is just not going to get anything done because there's not enough traffic out there and not enough visibility. And so you really, in this kind of a scenario, 2 tiers of commercial are about all that's going to be viable. And so that was one of the thought processes that we had in setting it up this way.
And follow-up question.
Go right ahead.
So I'm going to go back to my swimming pool. So I've got 100 people in my swimming pool, and I was expecting 20 guests to come, but now I've got 50 guests coming.
Mm-hmm.
So my swimming pool is more crowded than I was expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So what kinds of things do you think would help people get over this crowded swimming pool?
Sure. So again, there were how many? 6 phases before this one. Again, we're going from 19 to 50, so it's 30 homes. So you'd have to look at how much usage you get out of 30 homes. I'm more than happy to sit down with the property manager and get actual facts. In my experience, a lot of subdivision pools are actually underutilized. And so I'm happy to go garner that data from the property manager. I imagine there's card readers that can tell us all of that. But in most cases, they're actually underutilized. And so that's why a lot of developers aren't really doing those as many anymore. Like you used to see a pool on every corner on the big developments. You don't see that anymore because they're largely underutilized. But we're happy to dig into that because we want to have a project that is going to be consistent with the neighborhood and marketable. I apologize.
Yeah, I was going to do a follow-up question on the parking. I do know that parking is a huge demand, and so when you have the more condensed townhouses, that there's no space for visitors. And so a lot of developers would give up some townhouses to put some parking in. And is that something you would consider?
Yeah, I mean, Commissioner Blitman, so we're satisfying the code requirements, and the code requirements are set for a particular reason. This size of a single-story townhouse, you're not going to have the 50-person Super Bowl party, just because you can't fit that many people in this type of a house. So I hear that comment a lot, actually, in other jurisdictions that probably run up against this more often. And the answer is always adhere to the code, and then if there are issues with people parking elsewhere, then let our HOA know, and we'll jump into it. But to say that there's going to be something required that's more than code based on, kind of an assumption that the code isn't adequate, like I find that to be kind of a slippery slope, if that makes sense.
Okay, and one final question, and I've asked this one to lots of other people.
Sure.
So don't take it personally.
I'll try not to.
So as commissioners, a lot of times we have to decide if we're going to approve a project, deny a project, or table a project. And a lot of times we'll ask the developer if they would prefer that we deny a project or table a project, which would they prefer? Because if we deny it, then they can just, keep going one direction. If we table it, then they can do something else. And so if I were making the decision to deny or table, which would you prefer?
That's a fun hypothetical.
And you are not the first person I've asked that.
So here's my, and I hope this is responsive to your question,
Yeah.
Commissioner Blitman. I think deferrals can very often be useful if there is a gap that it's obvious could be crossed in terms of maybe something that the applicant needs to prepare or an additional conversation that the applicant needs to have. In this case, I'm not sure what the deferral would do unless there's some additional information that maybe some of the commissioners are looking for. We did, to the chair's point about only recently seeing the updated plan, unfortunately, the ACHD report came in pretty late, and so we had to scramble, and we were trying to be responsive with that so that you could see that we're making the changes that ACHD has asked for. If there were something along those lines that you felt like you needed to see something else, then absolutely, let's make the request and we'd be happy to work with you. But otherwise, I always look at a deferral as needing to serve a particular purpose. And so, and if it does, I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just, I think in the past, if we have tabled something, it's usually with some specific instructions or requests. It's not just a blanket or an empty table.
Yep.
Any other questions that we have? I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, this, I have one. One last one, and I don't know if you'll know the answer to this. At some point, I was an appraiser for 20 years, did a lot of beauty projects, but usually when halfway through build-out, the developer turns over the management of the HOA to the residents. Will that occur
Thank you,
at some
Chair.
point in the very near future?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm a little caffeinated and jumping all
That's
over
just
people
late.
before they finish their question. So yes, to date in Idaho, and this is going to change a little bit because of some legislation last year. To date, most developers, I would say 99.9% of them, will retain control over the association until the project's done. And that's for obvious reasons. They've invested a bunch in getting the project off the ground. They want to make sure that, call it a rogue board, doesn't try to shut them down before they can finish the project. So they're trying to protect their investment. As of last year, there's some new legislative requirements for new HOAs that were formed after July of 2025. So there will be earlier board participation by homeowners as a result of that in new HOAs. In this one, if the goal is to get the HOA turned over to the residents, the fastest way to do that is to get the residential development done. Once the residential development is done, there's no reason for the developer to be there. It's just a liability they need to get out. So the faster this residential development gets done, the faster the HOA will be turned over.
It's not dependent upon the commercial development at all.
No, I wouldn't expect that the commercial development would be part of the residential association at all. Most commercial owners don't want to have to go to an HOA board meeting, so it would be excised out and not part of the homeowners association.
Great. Thank you. Last chance here. Thank you very much for your time and your
Thank you.
answers. And I thank everybody who's come to the meeting. I appreciate the way you've conducted yourselves. We'll close the public hearing portion of our meeting and turn it over to the commissioners to come up with a motion either to approve, deny, or table.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Blitman. Commissioner, I've been said it too many times. Commissioner Birch.
I move that based upon the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained herein and the testimony from this public hearing, that this commission recommends denial of project numbers 202-502-138 ZC-PUD-S-PR-MSP and 20120115 DA-DM to the Board of County Commissioners, and further, if this motion is approved, that this matter be tabled for the until the next meeting of this body for the sole purpose of allowing staff to rewrite the report to conclude that the project should be denied rather than approved.
Okay, we have a motion for denial. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Commissioner Murphy? Commissioner Blitton, would you like, why did I say that? Commissioner Birch, I'm going to have to look at you.
Sure. If this project were submitted from the outset today, and if we still had many hundreds of acres of bare ground, like we did a couple of decades ago, then this project might be, and the emphasis on might, be approved as the applicant is requesting. But that isn't where we are. Where we are is a project that over 2 decades ago was presented with people having reasonable expectations that it would be developed according to the plan in place. Not only that, but as time passed, assurances were continually given that that is what would happen, that it would be developed as originally set forth, which means R6 and C2, not high-density development. Based on those reasonable expectations, I think that staff should look to see how they can fit in that this project, if it were approved, would result in damage, hazard, or nuisance to persons or property in the vicinity, and that it would be materially detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare. I make my motion not just on the basis of the public testimony, but on the basis of the materials that were submitted to us as part of the report, including the many, many letters in opposition, which address things such as traffic, potential increase in crime, devaluation of home values, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, and because of the reasonable expectation that the neighbors that are part of Winter Run have had over all of these years, I cannot in good faith recommend approving the proposed rezoning.
Commissioner Murphy, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this and looking at all the evidence, and it seems like it's going to be some undue hardship on the people there, you know, regardless of what the applicant asserts. There's going to be more traffic, substantially more traffic. The ACHD did say they could sort of, you know, figure it out, but I mean, it was pages of figuring it out, which, you know, that's fine, that's up to them. The Ada County Sheriff was a little, they said there were some problems, but maybe if they get some more sheriffs, they can work on that a little bit. Also, you know, when you put that many people in closely together in an already established neighborhood, it does create some, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but I don't know, not division, but anyway, you're just kind of changing the scope to what it originally was intended for, and I think based upon that, it just doesn't seem like it fits the surrounding neighborhood, and you kind of have to do that. You can't plop a skyscraper in the middle of this just because you have some bare ground. Not that that's an extreme example. It just doesn't fit the neighborhood, and there's plenty of R20 across the street there, and there's other stuff going in there. It's not necessary that this gets stuffed with more condos.
Well, thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Blitman?
Thank you very much. I grew up on Lake Hazel, and I drive this road a lot. And so I understand that everything has changed a lot, and I understand that there's a lot of people. And I would love to have a place to stop to get coffee in between my house and Boise as I'm going along this road. And so I can appreciate that we want more commercial. I can also appreciate that the developer had this plan that ACHD totally changed, so they're gonna have to put their roads in a different spot. And so they can't do the R6 that they originally planned. So they had some expectations, the residents had some expectations. I feel like I heard some common ground in the conversations, that if the parties can get together and kind of reduce the density and have more commercial, because we'd like to see that commercial there sooner versus later. I mean, this really needs to be kind of figured out and finished. Otherwise, everybody's going to be coming back every 2 years for something new. And so regardless of this being denied or being tabled, it's going to be back with something different. And so let's get together and have some real working sessions to figure out what people's real desires are. I love that they would all be single story. That's a gift. I live in a 1 acre house that has potential of development all around me. And if I could get single story houses all around me, I would love it, but it may or may not happen. So, because I don't own all that property. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Boy, I was torn on this. I'm.
Yeah,
You have to go? Oh, okay. Well, no, you go ahead. I'll say mine.
Well, I can appreciate what the other commissioners have said, kind of keeping a plus delta list as we went through all this. You know, the biggest negative is the impact and you know, the adjacent homeowners, and I can fully appreciate that. But, you know, Boise's growing, Ada County's growing, suburbs change, right? The house that I live in when it was built was the suburbs, and now it's completely surrounded by all types of different residents, from townhomes, apartments, larger individual homes. You know, we're talking about adding a net plus or minus 30 homes. That's all we're talking here in going with townhomes. Townhomes provide a entry-level opportunity for a lot of buyers. I wouldn't be surprised if these were townhomes, that these are retirees that are buying them and not people that are coming and going constantly, let alone partying and raising havoc. There's multiple multifamily projects adjacent this site. I was looking at a map as we were going through it, and right across the street to the south is, I don't know, 8 or 10 individual 3-story apartment buildings. So again, adding 30 townhomes to me is not disrupting the neighborhood. So that's where I would stand on. I would vote to approve.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm almost there. I agree that maybe the density is a little higher than what I'd like to see, but you've done everything that you can as far as single-story, 2-car garage. A lot of the houses that are in the adjacent neighborhood are 2-car garages, and if it could be enforced by the HOA to keep cars off the street at night, that would probably help a lot. We do zoning changes all the time, and you're told something when you move in, and that changes down the line. I appreciate those that may mention that you're having to reconfigure your street design there. It makes it really hard to do any kind of an R6. You're losing so much space, and it's just not going to work out quite right. It would be the way it is right now, where it's following the Boise's area of impact, where they would like to see a higher density in there. And I don't think townhouse is a dirty word, as far as I know. There's got those apartments down south of you. Yeah, those are a dirty word, but I don't think you'd see quite the same effect. And especially that's why I was asking what the price point was. If you're making a quality unit that's at a price point where you're going to have a better quality of buyer, let's say, that would help to remedy any problem, most of the problems that are coming up. The downsides I saw, again, that's a lot of density there. For that area, and maybe your pool will be overrun during the summer, which that could be pretty annoying. But I do agree that third tier of commercial off the street, that's going to be a hard one to sell unless you're doing some kind of office, something that doesn't need foot traffic. Somebody just needs an office space. But I don't think that would be economically it doesn't work out, and that would be a problem down the road. Again, I could flip a coin almost, but if it was a lower density, I would definitely follow through with it and approve it. But I will be voting in denial as well. I think, I look at that, I almost see that it should be a 55 and over neighborhood. We have small detached patio homes, and you get that detached design, get a little more space in between. But as it is right now, there's lots of things I like, and I don't have many things going against it, but enough to deny as well. With that, we're ready to vote. All in favor of denial of this project, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, say aye.
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 Yes, I'm sorry, I messed up on the, I worded it wrong.
So you,
I said denial.
so Jim, the motion on the
The motion
floor
is to deny.
it.
Let
And
me
so,
just try to start over again, just make sure we got it straight
Revote
there.
it.
All those in favor of denial, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All those
not in favor.
not in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 So it's three for the motion, 2 against.
Right.
And the motion is, the project is denied. Thank you very much.
We do. So, last time we come in before they have the thing where it says. Yeah. And so last time I had to pay. And so he said that we can get our parking validated so we don't have to pay. I think he's got a spot in the back.
Where Richard's standing, that's the Sioux Valley parking.
Okay, I've got to go get mine too.
Right where Richard's standing, right there.
Can't come back. I think I'm just gonna pay.
We do, yep.
Oh, I got it.
I got it right here. We'll just, we have, Commissioner Rello, we have just a couple more
Hang on
items
for
to
a
go
second.
over real
Let's
quick.
go through this and then we'll go do that.
Somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 12th meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the Ada County P and Z Commission public hearing that was held on February 11th, 2026, right?
Motion for approval.
Oh, sorry, February 12th, 2026. Thank you, sorry about that.
Motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Raleigh gives a second. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I say aye. Any opposed?
Chairman, I abstain because I was not here.
Okay. Commissioner Birch is abstaining. And now,
So
where'd he go?
Good evening, Commissioners. So I will be doing your recap for the board hearing last night. We had, one item was tabled again due to.
Might want to come up. Oh, do you have a microphone? Your microphone's.
I have a
not on.
microphone. Can you hear me? I can talk louder.
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay. It's getting everybody out with the parking situation. So for the hearing last night, so the first item was tabled again. We're still working with the applicant for their signing, their site posting requirements. They were doing it themselves, so we're helping to work them through that process. So it was just tabled for that. For the new business items, there was that came before you previously. It was a ZCDA subdivision for, where is the name? The Bully Creek subdivision, which was a 3-lot subdivision out off of Lake Hazel for 5+ acre lots in the RUT. The board approved that 3-0. They also heard this one that didn't come to you, but it was an accessory use variance for an accessory structure that exceeded the 24 feet in height. The applicant was proposing an approximately 20,000 square foot accessory structure at 32 feet in height. That also was approved by, the staff recommended denial, so it was tabled to go back for approval. The next item was another item that this hearing body heard, and that was it was a ZCDA MSP. So for a zoning ordinance map amendment rezone from R1 to a commercial district development agreement and master site plan for a retail nursery. This is the one that was located on Old Valley Road. So it's bordered on one side by Old Valley, the other side by State Street. That too was approved by the commission. The other item, sorry, It has been a very long couple days. The next item was not one that you guys saw, but it was a conditional use master site plan with a variance. This is out off of, I believe it's off Columbia Road. It was for an outdoor storage facility. The applicant was seeking a variance to the 100-foot setback requirement that we have for the outdoor storage facilities from either rural or residential districts. This is an area that is surrounded by large lot development, and the property itself was only using a small portion for the outdoor storage. The remainder of the property was being used for agricultural uses, and so they were, it is in the prime farmland layer, the portion actually that they're not doing the storage facility. So to meet the 100-foot setback, it would actually push that into prime farmland. And the nearest home was like over 800 feet away, and there was no opposition from any of the neighbors for it. So the board did approve that use as well. And then the final item on there was the appeal for the shooting range application that we did receive a lot of testimony. I think when I last counted there was about 90 people here. And that was after the other applications had left. So we heard testimony both from the people appealing and then the shooting range. The board did table this to I believe it was their March 30th hearing. There was additional items that were presented at the hearing that they wanted additional time to review. So that was tabled to an open business meeting, but they did close the public hearing on that one. Oh, sorry, April 7th. Why did I say March 30th? I don't know.
Lucky Irish. What time did you get out of here last night?
What's that?
What time were you getting out?
10:38. No, I'm just kidding.
Was that 10:38?
Just after 10:30.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It really was.
The room was not as full as you experienced?
Nope.
Gotcha.
For sure.
It was a lot lower tonight.
There was a basketball game on last night.
Is that why there was
Yeah.
nobody
Well,
there?
we're adjourned then.
Thank you.
If you're a U of I fan.